Good afternoon and welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. President Trump is on his way to Wisconsin today for a roundtable discussion that will be at 4 o'clock Eastern time. Of course, we'll take you there live as soon as we see that feed. Meantime, back in D.C. on Capitol Hill, the U.S. Senate has rejected a motion to add the Save America Act as part of a budget reconciliation on a 48-50 vote, which means, as I've unfortunately been mentioning here on the network, it's not looking like the Save America Act will become law in America, but who knows? We'll see what happens. We'll monitor it here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We have a lot to get to here over the next hour or so until we see the president in Wisconsin. Let's start with Indiana. Let's go there. Alvin Louie, the president of Courage is a Habit, is joining us once again now. Alvin, thanks so much for stopping by once again.
Thank you. I always love seeing you.
Yeah, you too, man. You too. Great to see you. Let's talk about your latest op-ed titled "The Islamist Trojan Horse Weaponizing Your Kid's Counselor's Office." Tell us more about that.
Well, just to set the stage, most parents don't understand yet that the school counselors are the most dangerous role in your children's K through 12. They come from an organization called the American School Counselor Association, or ASCA, ASCA, as we call them. And they are the largest purveyors of anything DEI, transgender, cult. They're the ones who set the tone for keeping secrets from transgender secrets from parents in schools. But what we found recently is that they've also partnered with the Islamic terrorist organization CAIR, CAIR. And again, just like DEI, just like the transgender ideology, it's coming through mental health. And so they're taking all the teachings and the fundamental values that basically supports Sharia law, and they're delivering it under, and here I'm going to give you some terms for your audience to look up in your school districts: welcoming schools, be kind, inclusive policies, social emotional learning, anything mental health. So it's being delivered and smuggled under that. But yet they deliver all the same trainings that CARE puts out, because they put out a document that talks about how to change the culture of the schools. So, for example, certain schools are building prayer rooms for Muslim students. They're changing the food menu and eliminating certain foods in the cafeteria. They're setting prayer spaces for Muslim students. And if you're a student that interrupts them in any way, then you're the bully and you get disciplined. They're changing certain times, like for exam times, or let's say there's a school dance or event. They're changing event times to match Muslim calendars. So all this is to get students from a kindergarten, middle school very early on, so that when they get older, they vote for Islamic terrorists, politicians, or people that support that, kind of like what you're seeing in New York.
Wow, it's wild to hear that this is on our shores here in the United States of America. A lot of people talking about this, from Mike Lindell to Tommy Tuberville in Alabama. So it's basically from Minnesota directly down to Alabama and from coast to coast. Yeah. This is something that we reject wholeheartedly here in the United States of America.
Of course.
The Sharia law trying to be imposed. You can't, I don't care if it's Sharia law or any kind of X, Y, and Z law. We want constitutional law in the United States. Full stop, right?
100%. And so the way they got here is a couple of different ways. They started repeating that term that even good Americans always repeat: separation of church and state. That's the problem when you don't have a real education system, because people actually don't know that term isn't in the Constitution. Well, all that's supposed to mean originally was that the government can't come in and say you can't practice Buddhism or whatever you want to practice. It was never to keep, let's say, Christianity or the Ten Commandments out of schools. And so you don't have to believe in Christianity or the Ten Commandments, but that term wasn't to get that out. What that was supposed to do, which is now we're seeing it, was to get Christianity out of schools so that they can put in other religions. That was part of the undermining of America values and our Constitution and the American way of life. So now, in all 50 states, not just blue states, I want to be very clear here. This isn't a red or blue state thing. This is a 50 state thing. You cannot say Merry Christmas at school. There is no Christmas break. It's winter break, but yet they're making room for all this accommodations for Muslim students. It was all an undermining, and good Americans went along with it. And it says, oh yeah, not everyone celebrates Christmas, so I guess we shouldn't say Christmas. This is why at Courage is a Habit, we pound so hard on language. Every time they say you can't say something, it is so important that you say that thing even more, because they are trying to control your mouth so they control your thoughts. And then therefore they control your hands and your feet and your actions, which is why a lot of parents now go, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. It's because they've already conditioned them to make fear a habit, which is why the namesake for our organization is making courage a habit.
Yeah, exactly. Courage is a habit. That's awesome. And if we went over to Minnesota, say we went to Target together, well, guess what? In that Target, according to Alpha News, specifically in Minnesota, they've put up a Muslim prayer sign closing the fitting rooms at a Target there for people to pray. My question is, when did Target get into the religion business? Your thoughts?
It's not that Target got into the religion business, but they hired people from the education system, because we all go through K through 12. Parents are still sending their kids to college. And so when they bring these people into their corporate office, they bring the brainwashing to Target. And so what you're seeing is that the closing the dressing room for, prayer rooms and Muslims and all those things at Target, people go, the number one question we get, how do we get here? And they start looking at a policy at Target. You're too late. Look at your child's school, because those kids at 5 learning to be inclusive. And let me say this, does this sound familiar to your audience? Just teaching kids to accept people different than them. Sound good, right? But what happens is, yeah, that sounds good at 5 and 6, but at 18 and 25, then they start voting for these policies. They start going into your businesses and pushing these policies. So when people go, how do we get here? And you're looking at Target or you're looking at your city council member, you are looking way too late. You got to go much earlier and look at your kids' schools, because that is where the brainwashing begins. And if you brainwash a child at 5 or 6, this kind of inclusive policies to accept inclusion and diversity as our strength, those kind of lies, when they become voting age, there is not a single fact, there's nothing you can do to get them to see that they're voting for their own demise and their own invasion. You just can't do it because it's too late.
Yeah, it's so wild with the brainwashing. I was thinking about why people say things like, they label people as you're a conspiracy theorist or you're delivering hate speech right now. They have all these words.
Sure.
But really, we look at the actual truth of what's going on. If you are against Sharia law, we understand that Sharia law is something that goes along the lines of submit or die. So
that's right.
Yes, we're against that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you can't say that's hate speech. It's not.
Right.
It's against people killing people. So you got to really watch out when people are like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist or you're doing hate speech. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You do not run this show. Stop trying to brainwash. But unfortunately, a lot of people are still brainwashed out there, Alvin.
They are. So I'm going to give your audience a tip that will destroy the hate label once and for all. When someone says you're hateful, 99%, maybe 100% of good Americans say, no, I'm not hateful. That's their knee-jerk reaction. I don't want you to say that anymore. I want you to stop saying that and defend it. Here's what I want you to say. They say, you're hateful. You go, absolutely, I am. There's a lot of things I hate. I hate sex trafficking. I hate that they're mutilating children. I hate that Sharia laws on our shores. I hate that they're brainwashing kids to accept things that will destroy their family. I hate that they're telling white kids they're oppressors. I hate that they're telling black kids their skin color matters to their success. There's a lot of things that I hate. Aren't there things that you hate? And then leave it at that. Here's the irony, Matthew. The people that accuse you of being hateful, they wake up hating a lot more than we do.
Yeah.
So I always say, you know what? There's a lot of things that I hate, but I still got a long way to go before I catch up with you guys, because you guys literally hate the country you wake up in. I don't. I love the country I wake up in. I'm grateful for the country I wake up in, but there's a lot of things that I hate. And absolutely, I am very hateful when it comes to those things.
Wow. Beautifully said. Alvin Louie, the president of Courage is a Habit. Go ahead and follow Courage is a Habit on X out there. That number is growing by leaps and bounds. Alvin, thanks for what you're doing for the youth of America, but also just as a podcaster, we look forward to having you on the show again.
Awesome. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Alvin. Good stuff. Awesome stuff. It's great to have people that can really dissect and get through those maybe personal barriers or just the things that we may have been taught, and to be able to detox. Usually you think of detox, well, detox from this, detox from that. Well, detox from the crap that's been poured into our brains over the years, right? Anyway, Man, we're starting out the broadcast right out of the gate today, huh? All right, let's do this. Let's go with mypillow.com in the meantime. MyPillow.com, the Father's Day sale. We were just talking about Minnesota just a second ago, but this is on the right side of history right here. A great company, MyPillow, a great person, Mike Lindell, running for governor of Minnesota. I believe the Grand Prairie state, right? Anyway, so the Father's Day sale, a lot going on there. Just check it out, mypillow.com/RSBN. The sales for the Giza Dream Sheets right there in the middle, those are usually a little bit more expensive than what you're seeing there, under $30. Check them out. Great stuff. Of course, the premium MyPillows, a lot of great products there. The Father's Day sale, of course, June 21st is Father's Day. Great sponsor here at Right Side. All right, also, speaking of Right Side, if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate, rsbnetwork.com/donate. All right, so it's 11 after 3 o'clock here on this Friday, June 5th. Thanks for live streaming in. Thanks for watching. Let's shift our focus now to elections. Of course, we started the broadcast talking about the fact that the United States Senate has rejected the Save America Act. This was in a vote yesterday to make it part of a reconciliation bill. Well, it got voted down. Could that bill, the Save America Act, still be brought up on the Senate floor? Sure, but it's not looking good. But let's shift our focus to California. The gubernatorial candidate, Steve Hilton, has this to say about the recent primary election in the Golden State.
Hi, everyone. Just a quick update on the election, particularly the governor's race. We are as confident as we've ever been that I'm going to make it into the top two, be there in the general election, and offer California a real chance for change this year. Change is coming. Having said that, this election is just another massive shambles brought to you by California Democrats, on top of the high-speed rail that they can't build, the homelessness that they can't clear up despite spending billions of dollars on it. Now they can't run an election. It is an absolute joke. Makes California a laughingstock.
How does Florida count all their ballots in a couple hours, and we take weeks?
We are a laughingstock, but even Democrats are admitting that right now.
This is a national disgrace, my friends. Forget that. It's an international disgrace.
And now they want to put, by the way, someone in charge who even the Joe Biden cabinet thought was its own most useless member. This is just beyond real. You've got Nate Silver saying that what's going on with California's elections is failed state stuff. And that is exactly right, because under 16 years of Democrat one-party rule, it is a failed state. I want to reassure you of a couple of things. When you see things out there about shenanigans with the election or whatever it may be, I just want to reassure you that our team is on it. We are keeping a very, very close check on everything. We have a team of lawyers standing by if needed. So far, there hasn't been anything that makes us think we need to move into action with lawyers, but they are ready when needed. Most important thing is actually what you can do. I want every single one of you to make sure that your vote for me and for all the other candidates you supported is counted. You need to go to this website, california.ballottracks.net, or you can just Google, "Where's my ballot?" That will tell you where your vote is, whether it's been received, counted, and so on. It's a good service. I use it myself. You can have confidence in it. It will tell you what's happened to your ballot. Then, if there are any issues at all that you're concerned about relating to your ballot or anything else that you're seeing with this election, please report it. Here's where you need to go. The California Republican Party website, cagop.org. Then you'll see a button that says Election Integrity. Please make an incident report. There's a button there that says Incident Report. So that is what I'm asking every single one of you to do. Make sure you track your ballot. Make sure that your vote is counted and your voice is heard. At the end of all this, even if it's another month, and it looks like it might be, I think that we're going to be in a very strong position because we're going to be in the top two, ready to offer change to California. And one of the biggest changes we need to make is to our election system. India counted over 600 million votes in a day. California is less than 10 million, and it's going to take a month. Totally unacceptable. It's yet another example of how we need massive change in this state, and that's the change that is coming.
All right, it's a lot of information, but it's really what's going on there in California. If you've been watching our broadcast, at least when it comes to, the mayoral race, Spencer Pratt taking on Karen Bass, and then Steve Hilton, of course, the Trump-endorsed candidate. It's supposed to be, the results are supposed to be done. This was June 2nd when that primary happened, as you guys know, in California. It's obviously June 5th. And then they're still counting let's go count the mail-in ballots, guys. Come on, let's go. Let's go see how many mail-in ballots are coming in. And it takes, how many more days? 27 or something? So obviously we know that is the way, unfortunately, it's run in certain states. And so I think the solution to this in general would be state and local governments pass your own version of the Save America Act. If the federal government, specifically Congress on Capitol Hill, if they're not going to pass it, let's get as many states and counties and municipalities and all the things, election boards and all that. Why don't you pass voter ID and proof of citizenship and no mail-in ballots except for certain instances? So that would be a solution, I think. It's 2:15 Central Time, 3:15 on the, actually 3:16 on the East Coast. Thanks again for live streaming in. President Trump is traveling to Wisconsin today for a roundtable discussion with farmers to talk American agriculture. That's at 4 o'clock. We'll take you there as soon as we see the Commander-in-Chief. All right, let's do this. From California, we go to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, where President Trump had this to say about the governor's race out there in the West. Watch California, everybody. Our election process is as bad or worse than any third world country. The biggest difference is they count their votes much faster. They don't wait 7 days to tell you who won, rigging the election during each and every one of them. Americans are ashamed of what is happening, President Donald J. Trump. And of course, the president speaking about the Save America Act yesterday in the Oval Office. You saw that here maybe on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Well, again, the U.S. Senate has rejected the Save America Act being a part of the reconciliation bill. So we'll see. Will the act be able to make it to the Senate floor by itself and just get a vote done? The filibuster would have to be nuked. Hopefully that would be really one of the only ways this would probably pass. But we've got to let this one go for now. It's hard to say that when something's called the Save America Act. But anyway, all right, let's do this. Let's go to Ohio, I believe. OHIO in the house, because RSBN host Megan Kohler is joining us live. Actually, that's not Megan. So we will, let's do this. Let's take a commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. You know, we've got a lot of interviews going on here at Right Side, so let's go to Michelle Steeb. She also wrote an op-ed recently. She's an author and on the right side of history. Great to see you, Michelle.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to our discussion.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about some of your recent op-eds. Tell us what kind of things you've been writing for the American people.
Well, I write on homelessness policy and the need to transform it. Thankfully, this administration has taken the bull by the horns, and they are steering the boat in the right direction. But my latest op-ed, which was published at Fox News on Monday, was really looking at Sacramento, California, which is where I led Northern California's largest program for homeless women and children. Sacramento is a very interesting case because back in 2013, the federal government shifted the nation's homeless policy to an approach called Housing First, which meant we would give lifelong housing to the homeless without any conditions of sobriety, without any conditions to work ever. The state of California is the only state in the nation that adopted that mandate in 2016. And then in 2017, the county of Sacramento also adopted that mandate, which meant all of that federal, state, and local taxpayer money was going into this lifelong housing with no treatment, no conditions approach. Sacramento County's homeless population has more than doubled since then. The state's is up almost 40%. So it's been a real disaster, but the findings for us in Sacramento, which I wrote about, were the, other ramifications of homelessness. It's a very negative experience for those struggling. But what we found is as the city and county were pushing the homeless out of downtown, they were going to the riverbanks. And we hooked up with an organization that in 3 years, it's a volunteer-led organization, almost all retirees, who get in the rivers with waders and gloves. In 3 years, they pulled out 29,000 needles, 1,900 shopping carts, and 70,000 batteries from the homeless who are camping along those riverways. And what's so critical about this is that's the water source for drinking, for bathing, for the region's population. And no one is talking about these environmental ramifications. In fact, this group, again, made up of largely retirees, they emailed, called, and tagged the governor over 6,000 times on what they're finding in the rivers, and they can't get the state to lift a finger. They finally got some help from the city and the county, but government is just using them as a source and not paying attention to the region's waterways and what's happening there.
Yeah, a lot of people, would talk about this, especially within the EPA and that kind of thing as well. We talk about it a decent amount here just with some of our sponsorships because of the importance of clean water, of course,
right,
throughout our country. So tell us some of the other op-eds that you may be working on here in the future, anything you've worked on in the past, just things that, obviously we have Freedom 250 coming up, a lot going on.
Yes.
We're getting excited about that here at the network. So just your thoughts about that.
Sure. Well, another recent op-ed that I wrote was about the history of homelessness. So you might remember up until about 30 years ago, the church really at the local level was the first line of response in terms of homelessness. And the federal government slowly, as they have in other issue areas, took over. And the federal government doesn't do human services very well, doesn't do a lot of things very well, but human services in particular. And so it was really as the federal government took over and became the largest funder of homelessness when we really started seeing the problems. The Obama administration, who put in that Housing First mandate that's resulted in a 35% increase in homelessness nationwide. The Obama administration and the Biden administrations really sidelined the churches from doing what they did so well. And now we have a government-run system that's just failed at every level. So the need to get the church back in, which is something this administration is also trying to do. We also just got a great bit of news at the national level, and I'll be writing about this next week, on homelessness dropping a little bit, not too much, about 3%, but it's been going up so steadily. So that was welcome news. And the Trump administration's release of a new funding approach to homelessness, a new policy approach, which is to prioritize mental health treatment, drug and alcohol treatment that plague those diseases of the brain, plague about 80% of the total homeless population. But we have been ignoring those diseases under the old approach. So prioritizing mental health and drug and alcohol treatment, transitional housing programs, which went away under the President Obama mandate, and strengthening civil commitment laws, because a lot of the homeless are so sick. They actually have another disease on top of mental illness and addiction called anosognosia, which is a deficit of self-awareness. And so the Trump administration is calling for the states to strengthen their civil commitment laws, to actually use that process for the people that are so sick that they don't realize how sick they are, to compel them into treatment. So it's a big, big shift for our country, a very critical shift. Thankful to this administration, within 6 months, the president issuing an EO to turn this boat around.
Yeah, great to see that. Also, finally, we have about 30 seconds. Michelle, can you share with us why you do what you do?
You know, I was so fortunate, it wasn't in my plan, it was in God's plan, but I was so fortunate to lead Northern California's largest program for homeless women and children. I saw thousands of women come into our program who are at the depths of despair, who rose to become employed and homeowners in California. This can be turned around, and I want to make that, help make that happen.
Where can people follow your work?
MichelleSteeb.com, and my book, Answers Behind the Red Door, Battling the Homeless Epidemic, is at Amazon.
Awesome. Michelle Steeb, thank you so much for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Definitely. Thank you. Awesome stuff. Great to see that. There's a lot of different topics, policies, things to work on out there. It's a big country with a lot going on. And let's go to some of our sponsors in the meantime. All Family Pharmacy is one of them. Of course, June is here finally. And we know what that means: traveling, vacation, kids are out of school, and you might be running around like a wild person because, of course, as the head of your family, you need to make sure everything is ready to go. You have food and drinks stocked. But did you get everyone's medication? Did you get your son's antibiotics or your wife's allergy medication? The last thing you want in the middle of a vacation is to need medications that you just can't get. That's why All Family Pharmacy is here. You could be prepared with everyday prescriptions, emergency medications, and more. From hormone and thyroid support to weight loss, energy, antibiotics, antivirals, even anti-aging and hair support, it's all in one place. You order online and they handle everything for you without the runaround. They even take care of the doctor's prescription if you don't have one, and will ship everything directly to your door. So get what you need now so you don't have to worry later. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that RSBN10 promo code today and get prepared for the summer. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. At checkout, RSBN10 for 10% off. For the first time since World War II, our national debt held by the public has exceeded GDP. Of course, it's a wake-up call now for our country. Our crucial mistakes of the past, specifically reckless government spending, have caught up with us. So what's next? Higher inflation, higher prices, higher cost of living expenses, and higher interest payments on the national debt. Every dollar Washington spends on interest is a dollar it has to tax, borrow, or print. Smart retirement planners prepare for potential setbacks, and they can do that by diversifying with a time-tested asset known for weathering the storm: physical gold from our trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. All you have to do, as you see there on the right side of your screen, just text the word Trump to the number 989898, and Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on converting an existing IRA or a 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA and physical gold. Of course, you don't pull the ripcord on your parachute once you've already hit the ground, so don't wait for economic turbulence to diversify. Text Trump to that number, 989898, and own some gold from Birch Gold. All right, we're at the bottom of the hour. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, we're going to go to Wisconsin here. We're going to see the president. He'll be speaking at a roundtable, talking to farmers, talking about American agriculture. We'll have all of that coming up. We have a lot of live interviews to get to, some recorded interviews that we did just earlier today, and some more news when it comes to the 24/7 news cycle. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Joining us now is RSBN host Megan Kohler from the great state of Ohio. You're in Ohio, right, Megan?
I am. Thanks, Matthew. Excited to be on today.
Yeah, glad to have you here. So let's first talk right out of the gate. We know that the Save America Act rejected within that reconciliation bill on Capitol Hill. What is our U.S. Senate really thinking? I mean, they got to pass this thing, don't they?
It's extremely disappointing to see 4 Republicans block this in the Senate and side with the Democrats on this. And truly, the bottom line is we have to have nationwide voter ID. In my opinion, we should have paper ballots, voter ID, same-day voting, and absolutely limited mail-in ballots. And that's really what needs to pass in this country. And I just am shocked and disappointed that 4 Republicans did reject this Save America Act.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll see maybe it get brought to the Senate floor again, but really I think at this point it's not looking good. Now let's shift out to Los Angeles. We've been talking a lot about Spencer Pratt, of course, running for mayor there. Unfortunately, that situation, they're still counting ballots, but Spencer's really in the run for this. He might actually win this in November. We'll see. Your thoughts about Spencer Pratt, though? I mean, the AI political ads are awesome, aren't they?
Spencer Pratt, of course, is being so entertaining as far as his campaign goes. And I think he's just a God-fearing, conservative, great guy who just wants to do the right thing for the state of California in general, and especially Los Angeles. He cares about his city, he cares about his state, and he wants to do what he can to save California. He's a common sense conservative, and that's what people want. There's tons of closet conservatives in California, believe it or not, that are afraid to speak up about what they believe in. And of course, people are going in droves to go vote for him. But I don't know what's going on with the California elections. They take forever. We in other states, we have our elections, and then within hours of closing the ballot stations, we get the results. So I don't know what's going on in California, why they have to take so long to count. Perhaps they need to find some votes to sway it in the direction that they want it to go. President Trump took to Truth Social the other day and pointed out that the Democrats are at it again, trying to steal the election. So we'll see what happens in California, but I wish nothing but the best for Spencer.
Yeah, definitely. Spencer Pratt, and also up in Sacramento for governor there. Of course, Steve Hilton talking about that. We started our broadcast with some of his maybe sound bites or things he's talking about when it comes to that election. Now, I'm sure there's a number of people on the live chat right now that remember Megan Kohler live at various RSBN rallies and all of that. So let's talk about that a little bit too. We know that President Trump on June 24th will have an America is Back rally in D.C. I'm sure he'll be traveling the country as we have a number of things going on for July 4th. But your thoughts about just what it's been like over the years and watching these rallies and seeing how things are now.
I got to be face to face with so many different Americans across our beautiful country, and I saw the enthusiasm for President Trump from day one. And during the campaign, people were so excited. They were sleeping in line overnight to make sure they got a good spot in the rallies to see President Trump. And the enthusiasm for just bringing America back to what we know and love, that it used to be a traditional, beautiful country to live in. And that's what President Trump is trying to do with the United States. And of course, once we got him back in office, now he's going around and having rallies to keep the enthusiasm high. And 250 years of the United States is definitely something to celebrate. So of course, this is going to be a huge 4th of July bash this year. And I think it's great that President Trump is having these rallies to keep the enthusiasm high, and of course, rally for midterms too.
Yeah, that's a great point. Rallying for the midterms, because it's, it's still November, but it's still going to be here before you know it. Now, speaking of something that that's going to happen really quickly, is in New York. President Trump attending, I think it's Game 3 of the New York Knicks NBA playoff basketball game at MSG. Your thoughts about that? This has not been done before, right?
President Trump is going to be the first sitting president to attend an NBA Finals game. This is going to be a historic moment for all of us to witness. And I'm excited for him. I'm excited for the Knicks. The owner, Dolan, invited President Trump to go watch this game. So, of course, he accepted the invitation and he's going to be there. And it's going to be at Madison Square Garden, which is an iconic venue to see. Of course, we had President Trump's huge rally there. I was able to host that rally. That was one of my favorites on the campaign trail. So brings back great memories for me personally. And as a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, I am upset that the Knicks advanced to the finals. But if they're going to go out with a bang, I'm excited for them. I'm excited for President Trump as a Knicks fan. So we're all going to be rooting for him. And I would like to note that I was at the Super Bowl in New Orleans. And when President Trump attended that Super Bowl, that was also historic. That was against the Chiefs and Eagles. And when they showed President Trump on the Jumbotron during the national anthem, the whole crowd went nuts. They were so excited to see President Trump there. It was a huge patriotic moment. And I think the same thing's going to happen at this NBA Finals game.
You know, in Madison Square Garden, Midtown Manhattan, of course, President Trump from Queens, so just going over one borough. And, Donald Trump and New York go hand in hand, right, over the years. We've seen that. We see Trump Tower. We see all the things, the different buildings and that kind of thing. So it'd be quite interesting to see that whole Game 3 happen in New York on Monday. Before I let you go, Megan, let's just talk about one more thing. Freedom. And we the people and all the things. I mean, is that not why you do what you do, I do what I do, and various people out there that are watching right now, whether they're on camera or not, just love our country?
Exactly. That's what this whole movement, the MAGA movement, is all about. That's why we're all on the Trump train. We're all on board for this because we love the freedom that the United States provides us. When you go to any other country in the world, they don't have what we have. They don't have the structures that we have. I've talked to people from Europe that come to America and they are just so overwhelmed with the amount of opportunity that we have. I mean, I was talking to someone from Russia and he was shocked that we have finance in the United States. So you're actually able to finance a business. You can start a business and become an entrepreneur in the United States. And in communist countries, you can't do that. So this is the land of the free and the land of opportunity. And we need to do everything that we can to protect that. And it's definitely something to celebrate this year, being the 250th year of the United States.
Amen to that. RSBN host Megan Kohler. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Great to see Megan again. It's been a while, but it's great to see her live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. Of course, another great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. There's 3 ways to get there. You can go the QR code route, you can download the app, or you can go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. So 3 ways to get to Kalshi. Of course, the political trending topics out there, a lot of the LA mayoral race talk with Karen Bass and Spencer Pratt. And there's a number of other things that people are either betting, trading, or checking out the polls all about politics. But there's other topics that you can check out as well, Kalshi.com/RSBN. Let's also shift over to another sponsor, and I believe it's Cove Pure right there on your screen, covepure.com/RSBN. And you may have seen this. Apparently, researchers out there have been documenting male fish developing female characteristics in rivers all across the country. So apparently it comes from birth control pills that wastewater treatment plants can't fully filter out, and it's in the same water that runs into your home. So if you're a man watching, or if you have sons, grandsons, or loved ones in your life, this isn't something you can ignore. That's why it's so important to use Cove Pure to purify your water. So here's how this actually works. When people take medication, their bodies, of course, it doesn't absorb all of it. The rest gets flushed, goes through wastewater treatment, and then those plants were never really built to catch pharmaceutical compounds. So that estrone from birth control pills or antibiotics, antidepressants, they just come right back out of your tap. So your standard pitcher filters that you see at the store, they're just not going to cut it here. These compounds are just too small, too persistent. You need something that can filter things at a molecular level, and that's exactly what Cove Pure is. Their ClearWave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So the estrone or fluoride, PFAs, lead, arsenic, basically anything that isn't water gets filtered out. Unlike traditional reverse osmosis systems, Cove Pure couldn't be easier to set up. You just put it on your counter, you fill it up with water, and plug it in. The best part is it lets you select whatever temperature you want. Hot water for tea and coffee, or cold water for the gym, or warm water for baby bottles. One tap and you get it instantly. And those fish didn't have a choice about what was in their water. You do. So go to covepure.com/RSBN right now and you can get $250 off. That's covepure.com/RSBN. Great investment for healthy, good tasting water. covepure.com/RSBN. It's 3:41 Friday, June 5th. We're going to see the president here in just a little bit, about 19 minutes from now. If it's delayed, of course, we know how to handle that here at Right Side. Of course, it's covering a number of rallies over the years and, you know, continuing to, as they say in the business, tap dance. So you keep tap dancing, keep going. Anyway. All right, so let's do this. We interviewed a number of people earlier, including in Iowa, specifically in Iowa. I believe that's clip number 8. So let's go to the Hawkeye State. And joining us now here on Right Side Broadcasting Network is Kurt Whalen, the Scott County, Iowa GOP Vice Chair. Kurt, thanks so much for joining us from the Hawkeye State.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to talk about the election. I appreciate it.
Definitely. So, of course, June 2nd was the primary there in Iowa. Overall, what are you seeing in Scott County, Iowa?
Well, before I talk about Scott County, I want to mention, one thing in particular about elections. You know, after 4 years of incarceration, Tina Peters has been released from prison. And what happened to her was a travesty of justice along the lines of Martin Luther King Jr. in the Birmingham situation. So she was put in jail for doing her job and protecting her county's election integrity. And I hope she sues the pants off the corrupt system that incarcerated her. But on that note, I also, in Scott County, want to thank our auditor, Carrie Tompkins, for the way she handles our election security with one upload to the Secretary of State's database. I think that's a really good thing. So as far as the data is concerned, I was excited for our turnout. We had 1,000 more votes than we did in 2022, which would be the next comparable election. Then I saw the Democrat turnout, and those numbers, they had approximately 5% more points than what we did. You know, at first glance, it should have been a wake-up call, but then reports of some strange interactions at the polling places started to come in, and it raised some interesting and larger questions, I think, about the law and the way we handle our primaries in Iowa. So I think the intent of the law was that if you go into a primary and you're a person of a certain party, if you're a Republican, then you should be voting in the Republican primary. If you're a Democrat, you should be voting in the Democrat primary. And I don't think any laws were violated at all. It was just the way that procedure was kind of handled that I think threw off the analysis of the turnouts. It's possible for an independent to go and declare a party vote and then vote for whichever party they want, and it's not reflected in the turnout numbers. You'd have to go back and look at those things after the auditor updates the file. So, I'm not sure that it's entirely accurate anymore. But either way, we all know the history of these off-year presidential cycles and how the party in power loses. So we have to improve our turnout in the Republican Party in Scott County. So
exactly, not only in Scott County, but all the way through the country, every county across the union, especially, of course, when we have that November 3rd midterm election. Now, we were going to talk a lot about Iowa, but let's talk about California quickly, because a lot of people are talking about Spencer Pratt and Steve Hilton, and not only about those two candidates, but also the election month that's going on there right now, where they're counting the mail-in ballots. Aren't mail-in ballots one of the worst things ever created by the United States government, outside of a need for military, medical, or a few other instances?
Well, I think those exceptions are absolutely important to have, but yes, if I just don't understand why it takes a month to vote, especially when we have early voting locations and you can drop your ballots off at the auditor's office. I would advocate for 4 days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, right before the election. If you can't get home in one of those 4 days to cast your vote, then you you better be in the military overseas, or you better have a physical disabilities or some reason that is justifiable. That's just my personal opinion. And as far as the California elections go, I don't really follow the California. I'm too busy looking at Iowa and trying to help manage Scott County. So. But I will say Scott County is a bellwether county for Wisconsin. So if the way Scott County, Iowa goes, that generally tends to be the same for Wisconsin. So,
and is that usually in midterm elections, or is that more presidential?
I think it's certainly in presidential. I don't know about the midterms, but I know in the presidential that's the case. So. I'd have to look at the source on that. The source was Captain Seth Keschel, who does a lot of good voter analysis. So
exactly, and we've had Seth on the broadcast. A big fan of Seth Keschel here at Right Side, and also to your point, Wisconsin today, of course, President Trump there holding a roundtable in just a little bit from now on this Friday, June 5th. And I want to ask you a question, Kurt. So tell us how you got involved with the Scott County Iowa GOP vice chairmanship. How did you get that position? And then prior to that, what got you involved in politics? What is it? What is that? Why did you do it?
Well, I've always been a Republican my whole life. Back in 2012, Obamacare hit the company I worked for at the time, to the point where the cost of my health insurance increased. And so I had to take my kids out of the school they were in and send them to a different school because of the difference in cost. And I just got tired of yelling at my television and decided I needed to actually step up and do something. And in 2012, I was elected to go to the national convention in 2012. And I sat next to our current governor, Governor Reynolds, and we just had a great time. We listened to Clint Eastwood, and it's just kind of been events that have just occurred where if you're tired of what's going on in your country, you need to start stepping up and doing something about it. And that's why I got involved with this. Like I said, my political opinions have always been pretty rock solid as a Republican. I mean, we are the party that freed the slaves. We are the party that stood against the Democrats when they didn't want women to get the right to vote, and the Jim Crow, and we are the party that wants to see the soft slavery of government dependency ended also. We have never wavered on that position. I'm a very proud partisan Republican, and so I guess in order to do something, we have to recognize that, somebody once said all politics are local. Well, local politics are personal. And, that's why knocking on doors and talking to your neighbors and your friends and family and having real conversations, it's why it matters so much. And people rarely change their minds because of a television interview or because of a pamphlet that's been dropped off at their door or a social media post. They change their mind because someone they know and trust took the time to talk with them. So that's been what I've been trying to do. I feel like the Washington, and I think it's so critical in this midterm because the Washington elections, they're the fruit of the political tree, but our local elections are the roots. And if the roots aren't healthy, then the fruit does not and cannot survive. So as far as my journey is concerned, it's just kind of escalated to the point where, people asked me to run for this vice chair position, and I just had the means and ability to do it. And I think all Republicans need to continue to fight, and we got to start taking this country seriously.
Exactly right. I can't think of anybody that would disagree with that outside of a few of those Democrats out there. But Kurt, thanks for what you're doing there in Scott County, Iowa. The GOP Vice Chair, Kurt Whalen, thanks again for joining us here on Right Side. And Kurt, we'd love to have you back on the broadcast just to give us some analysis as we get ready for the midterms. I know it's several months away, but still having someone like you as a friend to the network, always a good thing.
Absolutely. You guys do great work there. I'm a big fan. And I will say, Republicans, get out to vote, get motivated. We are the last best hope for this country. And we need to start taking our commitment to the people that fought and bled for our freedom seriously. And talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, go to your local Republican County chapter, get involved, door knock, communicate. All those things are going to help keep this country to free from the communist insurgents that are trying to overthrow us.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Perfectly put. Perfectly put. Hopefully we'll see you running for office outside of the vice chairmanship there in Iowa.
I don't know about that.
you're one of us, right? You're one of the people that we love. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I would say this during interviews and social media posts. I do think that can make at least somewhat of a difference. And I get you're saying it's about people that trust people that they know out there, and that's ideally what we're starting to have here in conservative media, not only in social media but here in live streaming, is that people would trust who the people are that are talking about the country, about freedom, and all the things. So great to have you.
I agree with you there. I didn't mean to suggest that those things aren't important. They absolutely are. But when we want to reach these middle and independent people, it's critical that we go outside of our echo chambers and have these conversations. What you do and what we do in our social media and what Right Side Broadcasting Network does, critically important. You're helping turn the tide against a clearly corrupt Mockingbird media that's out there, the mainstream media. So I can't thank you guys enough. And we need to fight on all fronts, on the ground, on the airwaves. This is a full frontal assault for liberty and freedom to save America. That's what we're doing here. So
exactly, all legally, lawfully, and spiritually in Jesus'
100%.
name. Kurt Whalen, the Scott County, Iowa GOP Vice Chair. First time interviewing you, Kurt, and I think we're going to have you on a few more times.
Well, whatever you need. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
All right. Take it easy.
You too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, so Kurt Whalen, the Iowa GOP Vice Chair there. Great person on the right side of history. Of course, June is here, finally. You know what that means. Traveling, vacation, kids are out of school, and you are running around like a wild person. And of course, as the head of your family, you need to make sure everything is ready to go. You have food stocked, drinks stocked, but did you get everyone's medicine? Did you get your son's antibiotics or your wife's allergy meds? Well, the last thing you want in the middle of a vacation is to need medications that you just can't get. That's why All Family Pharmacy is here. Be prepared with everyday prescriptions, emergency meds, and more. From hormone and thyroid support to weight loss, energy, antibiotics, antivirals, even anti-aging and hair support, it's all in one place. So you order online and they handle everything for you without the runaround. They even take care of the doctor's prescription if you don't have one, and will ship everything to your door. So get what you need now so you don't have to worry later. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that RSBN10 promo code today and get prepared for the summer. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code for 10% off. All right, let's go to Birch Gold Group, specifically for the first time since World War II. Our national debt held by the public has exceeded GDP. Of course, America, this is a wake-up call. Our crucial mistakes of the past, specifically reckless government spending, have caught up with us. What's next? Higher inflation, higher prices, higher cost of living expenses, and higher interest payments on the national debt. Every dollar Washington spends on interest is a dollar it has to tax, borrow, or print. Smart retirement planners, they prepare for potential setbacks, and they can do that by diversifying with a time-tested asset known for weathering the storm. Physical gold from our trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. All you have to do to get everything started, just text that word Trump to that number you see there, 989898. And Birch Gold will actually send you a free info kit on converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Of course, you don't pull the ripcord on your parachute once you've already hit the ground, so don't wait for the economic turbulence to diversify. All you have to do is text that number, 989898, of course the name Trump, to 989898, and own some gold from Birch Gold. All right, we're about 6 minutes from the top of the hour here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, President Trump just landing in Wisconsin. We'll get to some of that in just a minute. But let's just quickly go to the White House for some more on the 24/7 news cycle as we interviewed Kaylin Dorr. And joining us now here on Right Side Broadcasting Network is the White House Deputy Assistant to the President, Kaylin Dorr. Thank you so much for joining us once again, Kaylin.
Brother, it's always a pleasure to be here, and you and I go way back, so this is going to be a heck of a casual conversation. Let's get it done, man. Let's do it.
Let's get it done. Amen. As you know, there's a lot going on in the 24/7 news cycle, including the success of the Trump accounts for newborns. So what have you been seeing there at the White House?
Yeah, we're very excited about this, not only because obviously the app was successful, but it means that people are interested and curious in what is going to end up being one of the lasting legacies of the Trump administration. The launch of the Trump Accounts app, I believe it topped out in the top 5 on both the financial charts as well as the overall app charts on Apple, which is huge. It follows the success of our White House app launch a few months ago, where we saw about 2 million people download it in the first week or so. And I think people are very hungry for more information and to get involved and to take advantage of this incredible program. Now, I don't know about you, I can't imagine Joe Biden ever launching an app, let alone something that's even this remotely successful, and something that was really a proponent of financial literacy and all of the above. I know Secretary Besson's very excited about it. A lot of the private sector is very excited about it. We've done several events on this now with Michael Dell and some others, and I think the team over at the National Design Studio, Joe Gebbia and crew, they did an incredible job with this app. Everyone's very thrilled. It's about darn time. I will self-censor myself a little bit, but it's about darn time the American government, the federal government, speaks to you and provides products to you that you would actually invest time and money in yourself. And we're very excited about this launch.
Awesome. It's good to see that out there. And then also, speaking of dollars and cents, I understand the jobs report was just released. So what's the reaction to, 172,000 new jobs?
Brother, it is a bad day to be a panicking in our country. I mean, can you imagine taking this many L's in 1 week and still having the wherewithal to wake up in the morning and be obsessed with the detriment of the President of the United States? I mean, this week alone, we got the reflecting pool up and running. It's beautiful. The whole city is more beautiful than it's been since I moved here over a decade ago. We've got an incredible jobs report. And let's also not forget, right, that these are mostly, if not all, domestic jobs, U.S. citizens getting these jobs. I mean, it is unprecedented, and this is the best jobs month we've had in this second term, which is huge, especially given how little attention was given to the economy for 4 years. I mean, we're all really excited. And for all the people who are panicking and say that the president doesn't know what he's doing about domestic issues, we're too lost in the sauce on foreign policy and so on and so forth, this is a big stake through the heart of their arguments. I mean, we know what we're doing. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can walk, chew gum, and build a claw on the lawn of the White House all at the same time. And that's what we're doing. So we're all really excited about this. But mostly, I mean, if you're watching this, somehow you've stumbled upon this program. Maybe you're hate watching it, or maybe you stumbled upon it, and you're like, wow, this host is awfully handsome, this guest is awfully handsome, and you're just watching it just to watch it at this point, and you're not a fan of the president. This should absolutely 100% unequivocally bring you on board with the Trump agenda.
So on top of that, we see the reflecting pool. I'm looking forward to seeing it myself there. Outside of D.C. becoming much more beautiful, again, the safety aspect is a real big one. Can you talk to us about that? I mean, crime's down there by a lot, isn't it?
No, it is. And this is finally a safe place to live and raise a family in a lot of ways. I mean, there's still obviously always work to be done. And you saw this week, the Department of Justice actually launched a Model Cities initiative. So it's about $300 million in grants that'll be going out to, I believe, cities of 100,000 or more folks. They can apply for funds to kind of replicate the model that we've proven is successful here in Washington, D.C. But taking a step back, I mean, I've lived here for, I think, 12, 13 years now. I've never seen any of these fountains that are working now actually work. I walked by Lafayette Square on the way in today, and the fountains are working for the first time in forever. There's new sod. It's a place, we should be proud of the country that we're living in. We should be, take pride in it. It's kind of like I don't show up to work here at the White House in a T-shirt and, gym shorts, even though I love to do that. I wake up every day and, you put on your best face because you want to be proud of your appearance. You want to be proud of the work that you're doing. And that's very, very important to this president. The one thing I will say is there's a lot of speculation about whether or not the UFC venue will be pulled down or not. The president's poked a lot of fun at it over the last few days because the Eiffel Tower in Paris was built for the World's Fair in the 1800s, and they couldn't find a way to take it down. So I don't know. I mean, maybe we don't find a way to take this down either.
Yeah, I guess it's going to stay there.
But unequivocally, Matt, it makes it more beautiful. No matter what we're doing, we're making it more beautiful than it was. This place was a dump not a year and a half ago. And we're living in the golden age for sure.
Well, it sounds like UFC, this round 2, maybe next July 4th in 2027. I mean, if it's still there, of course. But this is what I like about this is the crime's going down. It's beautiful there in D.C., right on the heels of Freedom 250. Can you talk to us just simply about being a great patriot, working at the White House? It's Freedom 250. Good stuff going on there in D.C.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we try to time in, influencers or surrogates coming through, and we want to make sure they feel the love for going out there and talking about all the work that we're doing. And it's the other day I was like, well, we could plan for them to come to this event, or this event, or this event. There's so much stuff happening. This is going to be the place to be over the next 2 to 3 months because of all the activity. There's a Great American State Fair that'll be taking place on the mall the months of June, July. Obviously, there's a UFC fight next week for Flag Day and the president's birthday, and he's actually going to be going to G7 in France like right after that as well. So representing us on the world stage and then coming back to more patriotism. I think it's been announced we're going to be doing the Patriot Games later in the year. I mean, it has never been, and what I love about it all is it gives us a way to talk to the American public without worry of there being a political lens, because quite frankly, more people should be engaged on the 250th anniversary of our country, and it doesn't need to be political. And if you're looking at being pro-America family, patriotism, and you're finding that feels a little political, that says a lot about you and the way that you view the way our federal government works and politics in general. And it's just it's disappointing to see some folks choose the anniversary to make a political point. I think you were probably referencing the kickoff to the state fair where all those artists were coming to speak. And it is a little disappointing that folks would use this historic event to leverage their opinion in one way, shape, or form. And all we're thinking about, man, is just how do we do right by our country? And that's what we do out here every day, but especially this year. It's a lot of fun.
Exactly. And then if you look at June 24th, I know that Lee Greenwood and Christopher Macchio is going to be there. And it's going to be what we've seen here at Right Side Broadcasting Network since 2015, as you know, the Trump rallies, right? It's all about the buildup. It's the president speaking, the speakers prior, the music, all the things. It sounds like it's going to be Rally Day in D.C. on June 24th, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know better than anyone. I think we've covered rallies together, man. I mean, there's nothing quite like a Trump rally. I mean, he's bigger than Elvis. No one can amass crowds like this. And, I mean, it's really is a no-brainer, right, to drag everyone, to draw everyone here to Washington, D.C., to participate in something, some fellowship with other patriots. I mean, that's like really cool. I know that sounds almost like something a caveman would say. I feel like there should be a bigger word or something that encapsulates, the way that we're all feeling about it. But we're all just excited, man. This is just awesome stuff, and it's going to be a riot. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be great. Yeah, we're looking forward to covering it here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Last kind of question/statement is the fact of, I remember seeing on your X account recently talking about Freedom 250, and all you said was
250 more, or 250 to go from here, as in another 250 years. Can you talk to us about the love of freedom that the people have? The majority of the people in this nation that voted for President Trump, they really have that love for freedom, don't they?
They do, and I think that's something that gets lost. If you're someone who follows the mainstream media, they're telling you point blank to not love or appreciate what's going on in our country because they hate our president so much. And so I think it's really important as we talk about this particular anniversary, we attempt to instill, some sort of optimism and viewpoint that gets people excited, right? Nothing gets people more excited than a Trump dance at a rally or a Lee Greenwood performance, right? And so back to your previous question, man, I mean, there's just no better way to celebrate our anniversary than to have this president participate in a rally, to give a rousing speech, and to project a vision of patriotism onward past any of us. I know you and I, with our high level income and our dashing good looks, we could probably estimate living another 250, 300 years, and but not a lot of people will, and so you got to make sure that your legacy transcends beyond all of this, and I think we're really excited and confident in that.
It's awesome. President Trump will be kicking off the American independence celebration of July 4th on June 24th, the day before the Great American State Fair starts. Of course, you can catch all that coverage right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. This is the White House Deputy Assistant to the President, Kaylin Dorr. Thanks for what you're doing for the country. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, brother. Y'all have a great day.
You too. All right, so that recorded interview from about 2 or 3 hours ago. We are live right now, of course, RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez, and it's 4:07, Friday, June 5th. Thanks again for joining us here on Right Side. Let's go to a few of our sponsors. Right there, All Family Pharmacy. Of course, June is here, and finally, and we know what that means, traveling, vacations, the kids are out of school, and you might be running around like a wild person because, of course, as the head of the household, you need to make sure everything is ready to go. You have the food and drinks stocked, but did you get everyone's medicine? Did you get your son's antibiotics or your wife's allergy meds? The last thing you want in the middle of a vacation is to need medications that you can't get. That's why All Family Pharmacy is here. Be prepared with everyday prescriptions, emergency meds, and more, from hormone and thyroid support to weight loss, energy, antibiotics, antivirals, even anti-aging and hair support. It's all in one place. You order online, and they handle everything for you without the runaround. They even take care of the doctor's prescription if you don't have one, and will ship everything directly to your door. Get what you need now so you don't have to worry later. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that RSBN 10 promo code. You'll get that 10% off. Always good to save some money, and especially with All Family Pharmacy. All right, so let's go to Birch Gold Group. Speaking of money into gold, you can text Trump to 989898 because for the first time since World War II, our national debt held by the public has exceeded GDP. Of course, this is a wake-up call for our country. Our crucial mistakes of the past, specifically reckless government spending, have really caught up with us. So what's next? Higher inflation, higher prices, higher cost of living expenses, and higher interest payments on the national debt. Every dollar Washington spends on interest is a dollar it has to tax, borrow, or print. Smart retirement planners prepare for potential setbacks, and they can do that by diversifying with a time-tested asset known for weathering the storm, physical gold from our trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. Text the word Trump to the number 989898, and Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. You don't pull the ripcord, of course, on your parachute once you've already hit the ground, so don't wait for economic turbulence to diversify. Text Trump to that number you see on your screen there, 989898, and own some gold from Birch Gold Group. It's always good to get a free info kit as well, so you get that with Birch Gold. As we are live right now, let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. I'm Matthew Alvarez. As soon as we see the president, we'll take you to Wisconsin.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Good afternoon. Good evening, almost. We're getting there on the East Coast, at least. President Trump is traveling to Wisconsin today for that roundtable with farmers to talk about American agriculture. That starts any minute from now. As soon as we see that feed, we'll take you there. Speaking of the president, he has landed in Wisconsin. But let's go ahead and take a look at the video as he was boarding Air Force One at Joint Base Andrews. And then right after that, you'll see him on the tarmac in Wisconsin.
So we're in Wisconsin. We have a big crowd. Again, the job numbers were fantastic today. It's like nobody thought, many times what they thought they'd be. We have factories and plants being built all over our country at a number that we've never had before, ever in our history, and we're doing really well. The situation with Iran seems to be going quite well. Thank you.
All right, so the president speaking to the press, obviously quickly there on his way to this speech, or at least the roundtable in Wisconsin, so we'll go there as soon as we see it. Meantime, today we're getting a clearer picture of the America is Back rally, which will be held on June 24th in our nation's capital on Truth Social. President Trump said the following. This is quite the lengthy post, so just bear with me here. On Wednesday, June 24th at 7 p.m. in magnificent Washington, D.C., now totally beautified and one of the safest cities anywhere in the world, and in celebration of our country's 250-year history, we will be bringing you live the greatest rally ever. It will be special at every level, a rally to end all rallies. We don't want singers with no talent but big fees to put you to sleep. We've told them all to stay home. All we want is you, me, and a few speakers, and the greatest music ever played. The same music you have listened to for years. President Trump goes on to say, we will have the fabulous Lee Greenwood introducing me with what has turned out to be one of the greatest hits of all time, God Bless the USA, and the amazing Christopher Macchio, who will sing Nessun Dorma, Hallelujah, Ave Maria, God Bless America, and others. Not since the legendary Luciano Pavarotti has there been such a voice. The rally will also be featuring the wonderful U.S. Army Band, Pershing's own, and Armed Forces Choir, the President's own United States Marine Band, with the Joint Armed Forces Chorus, all of your favorite hits, plus a fine and highly dignified gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump. That was just yesterday, that post. Speaking of Lee Greenwood, we have an interview with him lined up, I believe, next week. But let's go to a Flashback Friday for that quick interview with the patriotic artist from last July. This is as we await the live feed to Wisconsin with President Trump today. Joining us now on Right Side Broadcasting Network is none other than country artist, superstar Lee Greenwood. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on Right Side.
You're welcome. Great to speak to you.
You too. I know that you're going to be heading to Iowa tomorrow to perform at the America 250 event there. What is it like to be on the cutting edge of all of these great events with President Trump and for our United States of America, sir?
Yeah, we talked about that this morning, about 249 not being 250, and it's an entire year countdown to America's greatest celebration of the greatest country, the greatest nation, and it's a privilege to perform with the president, which I've done many times now. And at the Iowa State Fair, of course, there's going to be a very positive crowd, a very positive afternoon. We're going to fly in. Hopefully, we'll be there ahead of him so we don't get caught up in the traffic delay. But it's exciting. It's an exciting time for America.
Exactly. And then speaking of numbers, the 250th anniversary of our U.S. Army, a great performance by you again there at that military parade. What was that like to be there to serve, in a way, serve our military, even though they serve us?
Yeah, that was interesting. It's funny because my performance was in front of the glass. Everybody else was behind the glass. I became the first line of defense. And we watched all of the tanks and the armored things, even the drones that were they marched by with a drone in the air. I thought that was fantastic. And then that little robotic thing that's a bomb sniffer. It could run, I think, at 2 miles an hour. It could run at 8 miles an hour. That's amazing. But it was an exciting time. And of course, again, when I sing for the president or I'm in a company of the vice president, RFK was there as well. It's just, it's interesting to be involved in all of that. And the security is so very tight. You have to spend an extremely long day before you get to the moment when you're actually presented to the public.
Yeah, I mean, and so many times I'm thinking about when you would sing live, obviously your song, especially here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I think, sir, we've played your song the most on TV because we've covered rallies since 2015. And do you remember what year it was that song was played at every rally when it really started like that? Do you remember?
Well, if you go back to former presidents, it was actually in 1984 RNC with Ronald Reagan. And I became his friend. And then, of course, both Bush presidents had followed that. My involvement with the NEA, and then now Trump appointed me to the Kennedy Center as a trustee. So it's hard to predict how many times I would have sang or could sing over the past times that I wrote it. But I wrote it in 1983, so you have to do the math there. It's like for the first 25 years, it was probably almost every day of my life. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting. And I remember you singing at the RNC. Speaking of that, just this past year, after President Trump he went through and overcame Butler, Pennsylvania, and then you sing at the RNC when he comes out with the patch on his ear. That must have been very emotional for you, sir.
Well, let me give you the backstory there. When I sing to a track, which we pre-recorded of my song, it's a 3 minute and 20 seconds, something like that. And so fortuitous for me that the live band that was playing behind me is a band that all worked for me when I met my wife 35 years ago. And so we were doing USO tours together. They're called Six Wire from Nashville. And when they were selected to do the RNC, we knew that the president would come into the building, but I didn't know I was going to introduce him until probably a couple hours before that. So I told the band, I said, when I get to the point where the president enters the arena, keep playing the vamp and I won't finish the song, which gave me an opportunity then to view the president as he walked in. And Vice President-elect was behind him. I didn't see that till the last minute. And I had to kind of just get my thoughts together. There was no script. And basically, as you pointed out, he had already been attempted on his life, and his ear was bandaged. Proudly and defiantly, but dramatically, he walked into the arena, and I was watching his son. I was watching Trump Jr. because normally it would be a jubilant affair where we're applauding, we're looking around. He was very serious. He was looking around the arena maybe he was looking for another, opportunity that somebody would take a shot at him or whatever. But he was, and so when the president-elect got into his box, and the VP and everybody got standing, and then I got kind of a nod from Trump Jr. that said, okay, this is your moment. And so when I introduced him, I just spoke from my heart and tried to give all of the things I thought the public would want to hear about not our relationship, but his relationship to America. And it went very well, and it was an exciting moment.
What an exciting moment, a powerful moment to think about right now. And as we are reminiscing a little bit, let's go back to another powerful moment back in October of 2001 when you sang at Game 4 of the World Series, Arizona taking on the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium, just a month before 9/11 happened. And then what was that like?
Gosh darn, that was an interesting 3 or 4 months there. I'd sang at the Firearms Memorial at Yankee Stadium with Bette Midler and Mark Anthony. We're the only 3 singers when the clerics, and so Governor Pataki, President Clinton, I was on the dais, and a few more, but it was a very emotional time. Then Bernard Kerik, actually, who was the police commissioner, arranged to have a tribute to the policemen who were killed on 9/11, and we did that at Carnegie Hall. Thanks to the Mayor Giuliani as well, that put that together. So I already had those 2 events behind me. So when we talk about honoring America, one of the things the terrorists wanted to do was take away our way of life. And we love our sport. America is that kind of competitive place. And so it was kind of almost like, say, you're not going to stop us from doing this. So when I stepped onto the field, and by the way, there was a lot of conversation about, do you wear red, white, and blue colors on clothing? And that was a big deal at the time. And I said, well, I have this jacket that I had made for me, and I'm going to wear it to remind the rest of the world that red, white, and blue will stand up proudly, and we'll have our sports. And I'm going to sing this song as a moment to give tribute to the country. And so, yeah, I was kind of like emotionally wrapped up. It was hard to focus for a moment. But with the crowd and everybody very serious, it gave me just that moment to deliver. And I've done that before, but that was a big one.
Yeah, that was. And if anybody wants to see that, you could watch that, online with Major League Baseball back in October of 2001, where Lee Greenwood sang "God Bless the USA" at Yankee Stadium, and only a month prior was the September 11th attacks. A powerful moment, and many powerful moments where you've been front and center right before we see President Trump, like we will tomorrow in Iowa. So once again, as we're moving forward to this huge, huge event of the 250th birthday party, which is obviously next year, just your thoughts about it, Lee, being an American citizen. For you personally, what is it like that for some reason you were born in the US of A?
Yes, I was. My father joined the Navy right after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. That was his war. And I was born in 42, so he was deployed. I didn't really know my dad until I was 17. My mother had 2 kids to raise. I have an older sister. She still lives alive, and lives in Boise, Idaho now, not in California where I was born. And our parents had to work through those years. It was really hard for all citizens of America, and I was lucky to be gifted with a talent. I left high school and went straight to Nevada and started with my own band and worked there for almost 20 years in Nevada until my country music career hit. And when I moved to Nashville, Tennessee and started performing across the nation, it gave me a better insight to the whole country. Because I heard things, about, well, they're different in Texas, different in New York, or Miami, or Frisco, and I'm very familiar with California and how it's kind of turned negative for me. It's such a beautiful state, and they're just ruining it with taxes and whatever else they do. But I'm so proud to be able to have come up with something that can unite our country. And it's been a good ride for me all these years. And now we're going to Iowa here at the State Fair with the president to deliver a message about optimism and how his plan will make America great again. I'm so excited to be with him again.
Exactly. It's going to be great to see you there. We're going to watch it live right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Quickly, 2 more questions before I let you go. Thank you again for spending the time with us here on Right Side. We know, and you brought up Nashville a couple times there, and I know you were recently awarded a 2-time platinum plaque during the CMA Fest in Nashville just last month for God Bless the USA. What is that like, just to be in Music City and to kind of have it full circle in a way,
Well, not being from here and having me embraced the country music community, and they embraced me and given me the awards that they have over the past 40 years, I couldn't be more proud of the fact that God Bless USA was Song of the Year in 1985. That was way back. And now we have this. This is the God Bless USA Bible that is a brand new edition for July 4th. It's the Patriot Edition. And people, you need to have this. God Bless USA Bible.com will get you one of these. So Nashville, thank you for my career, and thank you, God, for this Bible.
Amen. Thank God for the Bible. Lee Greenwood, country artist, superstar, thank you again for taking the time with us here on Right Side. Have fun tomorrow. Everybody will be watching, sir.
I'll have fun, definitely. Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you, Lee. All right, just a little bit of a flashback Friday with Lee Greenwood. Of course, he'll be singing and introducing the president on June 24th in Washington, D.C. Prior to all of that, we have to take you to Wisconsin here. As soon as we see that live feed, we're going to take you there. In the meantime, everything brought to you by some great sponsors, including Kalshi.com/RSBN. So you have the QR code, you have the app, you have the website, 3 ways to get to Kalshi, and a lot of political trending topics that people are betting, trading, or just checking out the polls with. Specifically, that mayoral race in Los Angeles, California. Spencer Pratt. If you have not heard of Spencer Pratt, maybe look on X. If you don't have an X account, maybe get one. If you don't want to get one, just type in maybe DuckDuckGo or however you use your search engines and type in Spencer Pratt AI political ad. And check out some of these political ads that Spencer has been creating, him and his team, really speaking truth and speaking on the right side of history. Just a lot of common sense information, but using AI to kind of share his story. And I'm not against AI. I'm for AI if it's being used for good. If it's going to be used for bad in any way, of course I'm not for that. But that looks like what we're about to see is AI and robotics. That's kind of the new age we're going into. Anyway, enough said about that. But you could check out even topics about science and technology on Kalshi.com/RSBN. There's a lot of topics there, sports, weather, you name it, most likely there on Kalshi.com/RSBN. All right, let's go to Cove Pure as well as we're awaiting that live feed to Wisconsin here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And you may have seen this. Apparently, researchers have been documenting male fish developing female characteristics in rivers all across the country. So we're told it comes from birth control pills that wastewater treatment plants can't fully filter out. So it's in the same water that runs into your home. So if you're a man out there watching, or if you have sons, grandsons, or loved ones in your life, this isn't something you can ignore. That's why it's so important to use Cove Pure to purify your water. So here's how it really works. When people take medication, their bodies don't absorb all of it. So then the rest gets flushed, goes through wastewater treatment, and then those plants were never built to catch pharmaceutical compounds. So things like estrone. Estrone is from birth control pills or antibiotics or antidepressants. They just come right back out of your tap. So your standard pitcher filter from the store isn't going to cut it here because these compounds are just too small and too persistent. You need something that can filter things at a molecular level. And that's exactly what Cove Pure is. Their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So that estrone or fluoride, PFAs, lead, arsenic, basically anything that isn't water gets filtered out. Unlike traditional reverse osmosis systems, Cove Pure couldn't be easier to set up. You just put it on your counter, you fill it up with water and plug it in. And the best part is it lets you select whatever temperature you want. Hot water for tea or coffee, cold water for the gym, warm water for the baby bottles. One tap and you get it instantly. So those fish, of course, didn't have a choice about what was in their water. You do. So go to covepure.com/RSBN, and right now you can get $250 off. That's covepure.com/RSBN. Drink pure, live pure, Cove Pure, as we're approaching the bottom of the hour here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So let's do this. Let's double check and see if there's anything going on in the wide world of, usually you say sports, but news, of course. We know President Trump will be in Wisconsin. He's there now, and we'll be seeing him there in Chippewa Falls any second from now. We do know that this is a roundtable with farmers talking about American agriculture, so we'll be hearing more about that. Not seeing any major breaking news stories that are happening right this second. If we do see something like that, of course, we can always pivot to that. But in the meantime, of course, we're here with the White House when it comes to coverage. Speaking of coverage, we know that there's a lot of things happening in the next few months here, specifically June and July. We know that on June 24th, President Trump will be speaking at that huge rally in Washington, D.C. And then June 14th, prior to that, of course, the UFC fight out on the South Lawn of the White House. And then July 4th, I mean, we're going to have a lot of coverage here on Right Side when it comes to our American independence and celebrating 250 years young. Looking forward to that at that great state American fair. We'll be covering a lot of that coming up. And then also, when will the midterm national election, the national There's this huge event that will be happening, of course, the midterm. It's just escaping my mind, to be honest. And I told you there's no teleprompter, so this is just rolling with it. It's so funny. It's escaping my mind. At the end of the day, we know that each year the RNC has a national convention. That's the word, convention. So there's this midterm national convention that's going to happen. The RNC is saying this is going to happen. We're waiting for President Trump to make the announcement. We're not sure when it's going to happen. I believe it'll happen post-July. So after the holidays, maybe in August or September, as we get ready for the midterms in November. And we'll have a lot of coverage, of course, ongoing with that. All right, let's do this. We know that President Trump traveling to Wisconsin today for that roundtable with farmers to talk about American agriculture. Of course, we'll see if the Secretary Rollins of Ag will be there. Of course, huge into that whole industry. And also, at the heart of America's story is the sea. From Continental Navy to today's global force, the Navy's story is America's story. As the Navy celebrates our nation's 250th anniversary, the U.S. Navy is launching its 13 Colonies series to highlight the contributions of the states that started it all. This week takes us to Pennsylvania, from the birth of the Continental Navy in Independence Hall on October 13th, 1775, to the historic Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. Pennsylvania has always been at the heart of our nation's naval history. So as we await the president in Wisconsin, let's go to my home state of Pennsylvania.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
With America's 250th anniversary approaching, we turn our attention to Pennsylvania, where America's earliest naval leadership helped shape the nation's fight for independence. In 1775, Philadelphia became the birthplace of the Continental Navy, where the Continental Congress authorized the first American warships to challenge British control of the seas. Today, Pennsylvania's naval legacy lives on through ships like the Ohio-class ballistic missile submarine USS Pennsylvania, and through the historic Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, which supported the fleet for more than a century. Pennsylvania is also the home state of notable naval figures like Navy musician and composer Anthony A. Mitchell and Chaplain George S. Rents, the only Navy chaplain to earn the Navy Cross in World War II. The Navy story is told through the 30-plus ships named for its people and places, including the San Antonio-class amphibious transport dock USS John P. Murtha, named after the decorated Marine Corps veteran and longest-serving congressman ever elected from Pennsylvania. From launching the Continental Navy to supporting generations of sailors, Pennsylvania's naval heritage helped shape the strength of America's fleet. Did any of these facts surprise you? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to check out the next video in our exploration of 13 colonies, 1 Navy.
All right, so let's now also go to Capitol Hill, where Georgia Representative Andrew Clyde spoke about mass surveillance. A lot of the representatives speaking about the FISA court, of course, that expiring in a few days. We may be bringing in some congressmen for that interview next week. But in the meantime, let's just go to Capitol Hill.
Automated license plate readers, and in particular the dominant vendor, Flock Safety, have quietly become one of the most sweeping surveillance systems in American history. Flock Safety now contracts with more than 5,000 law enforcement agencies and operates over 80,000 AI-powered cameras across 49 states. These cameras photograph every vehicle that passes, not vehicles belonging to suspects, not vehicles flagged by a warrant, but every vehicle. All data collected, including license plate data, vehicle descriptions, location, and time, are stored in a centralized, searchable national database accessible to law enforcement and others on demand without court approval. Let's be clear about what this is: mass government surveillance.
So yeah, we'll be talking a lot about the FISA court as it's going to expire soon. The FISA is, so we'll get into some more details about that and protecting the Fourth Amendment. That will be something we'll get into, I believe, on Monday and Tuesday of next week as we continue to cover live events here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All of it brought to you by some great sponsors. As you guys know, All Family Pharmacy. Of course, June is here, and finally, because we know what that means, it's traveling, vacation, the kids are out of school, and you might be running around like a wild person because, of course, as the head of the household, you need to make sure everything is ready to go. You have food stocked and the drinks stocked, ready to go on vacation, but did you get everyone's medicine? Did you get your son's antibiotics or your wife's allergy medication? The last thing you want in the middle of a vacation is to need medications that you can't get. That's why All Family Pharmacy is here. You can be prepared with everyday prescriptions, emergency meds, and more, from hormone and thyroid support to weight loss, energy, antibiotics, antivirals, even anti-aging and hair support. It's all in one place. You order online and they handle everything for you without the runaround. They even take care of the doctor's prescription if you don't have one, and will ship everything directly to your door. So get what you need now so you don't have to worry later. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use the RSBN 10 promo code. You'll get 10% off at checkout. All right, let's go to Birch Gold Group. You know, for the first time since World War II, our national debt held by the public has exceeded GDP. America, of course, we're seeing a wake-up call here. Our crucial mistakes of the past, specifically reckless government spending, has really caught up to us. So what's next? Higher inflation or higher prices, higher cost of living expenses, and higher interest payments on the national debt. Every dollar Washington spends on interest is a dollar it has to tax, borrow, or print. Smart retirement planners prepare for potential setbacks, and they can do that by diversifying with a time-tested asset known for weathering the storm: physical gold from our trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. Just text the word Trump to the number 989898, and Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Of course, you don't pull the ripcord on your parachute once you've already hit the ground, so don't wait for economic turbulence to diversify. Just text Trump to that number, 989898. Again, it's Trump to 989898. Own some gold from Birch Gold. All right, it's 4:37, 4:38, depending on if you're looking at your phone or your iPad. Mine says 4:38 here. Anyway, let's go to Iowa while we're awaiting Wisconsin. Now, Iowa has something to do with Wisconsin in the sense of voting, usually during presidential cycles. But let's go to Iowa with a recent interview. And joining us now here on Right Side Broadcasting Network is Kurt Whalen, the Scott County, Iowa GOP Vice Chair. Kurt, thanks so much for joining us from the Hawkeye State.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to talk about the election. I appreciate it.
Definitely. So, of course, June 2nd was the primary there in Iowa. Overall, what are you seeing in Scott County, Iowa?
Well, before I talk about Scott County, I want to mention, one thing in particular about elections. You know, after 4 years of incarceration, Tina Peters has been released from prison. And what happened to her was a travesty of justice along the lines of Martin Luther King Jr. in the Birmingham situation. So she was put in jail for doing her job and protecting her county's election integrity. And I hope she sues the pants off the corrupt system that incarcerated her. But on that note, I also, in Scott County, want to thank our auditor, Carrie Tompkins, for the way she handles our election security with one upload to the Secretary of State's database. I think that's a really good thing. So as far as the data is concerned, I was excited for our turnout. We had 1,000 more votes than we did in 2022, which would be the next comparable election. Then I saw the Democrat turnout, and those numbers, they had approximately 5% more. points than what we did. At first glance, it should have been a wake-up call, but then reports of some strange interactions at the polling places started to come in, and it raised some interesting and larger questions, I think, about the law and the way we handle our primaries in Iowa. So I think the intent of the law was that if you go into a primary and you're a person of a certain party, if you're a Republican, then you should be voting in the Republican primary. If you're a Democrat, you should be voting in the Democrat primary. And I don't think any laws were violated at all. It was just the way that procedure was kind of handled that I think threw off the analysis of the turnouts. It's possible for an independent to go and declare a party vote and then vote for whichever party they want, and it's not reflected in the turnout numbers. You'd have to go back and look at those things after the auditor updates the file. So I'm not sure that it's entirely accurate anymore. But either way, we all know the history of these off-year presidential cycles and how the party in power loses. So we have to improve our turnout in the Republican Party in Scott County. So
exactly, not only in Scott County, but all the way through the country, every county across the union, especially, of course, when we have that November 3rd midterm election. Now, we were going to talk a lot about Iowa, but let's talk about California quickly, because a lot of people are talking about Spencer Pratt and Steve Hilton, and not only about those two candidates, but also the election month that's going on there right now, where they're counting the mail-in ballots. Aren't mail-in ballots one of the worst things ever created by the United States government, outside of a need for military, medical, or a few other instances?
Well, I think those exceptions are absolutely important to have, but yes, if I just don't understand why it takes a month to vote, especially when we have early voting locations and you can drop your ballots off at the auditor's office. I would advocate for 4 days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, right before the election. If you can get home in one of those 4 days to cast your vote, then you better be in the military overseas, or you better have a physical disability or some reason that is justifiable. That's just my personal opinion. And as far as the California elections go, I don't really follow the California. I'm too busy looking at Iowa and trying to help manage Scott County. So. But I will say Scott County is a bellwether county for Wisconsin. So if the way Scott County, Iowa goes, that generally tends to be the same for Wisconsin. So,
and is that usually in midterm elections, or is that more presidential?
I think it's certainly in presidential. I don't know about the midterms, but I know in the presidential that's the case. So. I'd have to look at the source on that. The source was Captain Seth Keschel, who does a lot of good voter analysis. So
exactly, and we've had Seth on the broadcast. A big fan of Seth Keschel here at Right Side, and also to your point, Wisconsin today, of course, President Trump there holding a roundtable in just a little bit from now on this Friday, June 5th, and I want to ask you a question, Kurt. So tell us how you got involved with the Scott County. Iowa GOP vice chairmanship. How did you get that position? And then prior to that, what got you involved in politics? What is it? What is that? Why did you do it?
Well, I've always been a Republican my whole life. Back in 2012, Obamacare hit the company I worked for at the time, to the point where the cost of my health insurance increased. And so I had to take my kids out of the school they were in and send them to a different school because of the difference in cost. And I just got tired of yelling at my television and decided I needed to actually step up and do something. And in 2012, I was elected to go to the national convention in 2012. And I sat next to our current governor, Governor Reynolds, and we just had a great time. We listened to Clint Eastwood, and it's just kind of been events that have just occurred where if you're tired of what's going on in your country, you need to start stepping up and doing something about it. And that's why I got involved with this. Like I said, my political opinions have always been pretty rock solid as a Republican. I mean, we are the party that freed the slaves. We are the party that stood against the Democrats when they didn't want women to get the right to vote, and the Jim Crow, and we are the party that wants to see the soft slavery of government dependency ended also. We have never wavered on that position. I'm a very proud partisan Republican, and so I guess in order to do something, we have to recognize that, somebody once said all politics are local. Well, local politics are personal. That's why knocking on doors and talking to your neighbors and your friends and family and having real conversations, it's why it matters so much. And people rarely change their minds because of a television interview or because of a pamphlet that's...
All right, so that interview right there aired earlier, of course, cutting into some of the programming here live as we're seeing that there is a feed that's happening there in Wisconsin. Of course, President Trump speaking to a number of farmers at a roundtable in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. Again, all about American agriculture. So thank you again for watching this live stream. For those of you just joining us, this is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We're going to head up to Wisconsin here in just a little bit. As we are live, we've been live for about a couple hours now. So thanks so much for watching from the start of our program all the way until now. Of course, a lot coming up over the next month, 2 months, when it comes to celebrating 250 years young for our great country. If you'd like to follow us on Truth Social, it's at RSBN, and on X, it's at RSB Network. So thanks so much for doing that as we are holding down the fort here. Just recently, of course, that reconciliation bill with the Save America Act, unfortunately, it didn't pass. It was rejected, as some of you may know. So the Save America Act, it's an uphill climb right now, but it's still something that I believe the states and local governments can do, hopefully, for voter ID, proof of citizenship, and getting rid of the mail-in ballot fiasco that we saw in 2020. Remember that with COVID, how awful that was? Well, unless it's for medical or military, of course, and a few other instances, that's really the only reason why mail-in ballots are good to have. But outside of that, that has been abused widely, and hopefully that will come to an end. But what else can you say other than pray hard, work hard, and what else can you do, right? All right, so anyway, looking at some national news headlines right now, specifically, let's see what, we're looking at Grok right now on AI as we're holding down the fort here. Let's see, veteran actor James Hardy, known for roles in Top Gun Maverick, has been fatally stabbed in Los Angeles. LAPD arrests the girlfriend's son. That's a story that people are talking about a bit. The Treasury warns banks of red flags for customers in the U.S. illegally. Broader deportation efforts gain momentum with the new funding. So, we've been seeing that too. We started out our coverage, back when President Trump became the 47th president. We talked a lot about the wall. We talked a lot about the southern border. It's not that big of a story anymore, which is a good thing, because our military, of course, has been down there since President Trump was sworn into office. Joined with the Customs Border Patrol agents, the local sheriff's office along that southern border. Remember those videos that we saw in Eagle Pass, Texas, under the Biden regime, where there were people in caravans, in the sense of seeing drone video of tens of thousands of people just being like, well, I guess we're leaving our country here in South and Central America. We're just going to walk right into the United States. We can't do that. If you and we all traveled to another country, maybe in Europe, say Italy or something, you'd have to have all your paperwork. You can't just go to that country. And it's the same thing here now under President Trump. You just can't show up uninvited. Of course, right now we are awaiting that live feed. I'm hearing from the director that we are waiting for it here. Now, if we are on more of a delay, maybe we can still get back to the rest of that interview in the meantime, as we've been live here for a couple hours now. Of course, also, I'm hearing that we do have to carry here, so that means it's you and me until we see President Trump, of course. So speaking of you and me, let's go to the live chat right now, as you guys are watching here live on Right Side. Specifically, let's do something basic. Where are you watching from? Always fun to hear from our viewers here, because you're on the same team as us, right? On the right side of history when it comes to we the people. That's what this is all about. The founding fathers, they did what they did for who? We the people, because they were part of that crew. They are the ones that started it all, and we hope to see the Constitution continue to be the law of the land for another 250 years. Unless Jesus returns before that, which he may, so we'll see. But anyway, let's see where everybody's watching from as we are awaiting President Trump here in Wisconsin as we are live right now. So I'm going to pull that up here on the screen. It might take me a second, just doing this on the fly here. And always good, again, to see you guys here joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network. You know, those that are watching on our home, Rumble, of course, always good to have you on Rumble and YouTube, X, wherever you're watching right now. Thanks so much for doing so. As we are, of course, viewer supported, we also have some great sponsors, as you guys know. So anybody that can donate to the network, please feel free if you'd like, as this is pretty much a free service for you to come and watch here with us. And hopefully you're getting some, I don't know, a little bit of entertainment, but that's not really the main goal. The main goal is to keep our country free. That's really, for me personally, to be honest with you guys, that's what this is all about, is freedom for we the people for as long as we can have it. And that's why we've talked about the Save America Act a lot as well, because you think about it, it's like, well, that sounds like a good title. We need to save our country. Let's do it. But unfortunately, that has been rejected so far from the U.S. Senate. So we'll see what happens. Now, we see people watching from Brazil, Florida, someone saying Matthew, New Jersey, awesome. We see California, San Jose, California. Someone saying Pink Floyd. I didn't know Pink Floyd was a town. No, I'm kidding with you. I don't know what you guys are talking about on there, but it's all good. Wisconsin. Where else are people watching from as I'm looking at the live feed right here? You know, you should see how small the screen is from what I'm looking at. Maybe I need to wear my contacts. I used to wear them back in the day, but whatever. All right, let's see where else everybody's watching from. We see Wisconsin, the Pacific Northwest. Hello to you out there. Yeah, so it's great to see you guys. So are you looking forward to, of course you're looking forward to Freedom 250, but are you going to Washington, D.C.? Are you going to be celebrating with friends and family? What are you going to do for July 4th as we get ready to celebrate our 250th? How awesome is that? That's what, less than, that's exactly 29 days, to be honest, because we know that if you just look at some of the calendars out there, it's only 29 days. Can you believe it? Less than 30 days until Freedom 250. And again, June 24th, the America is Back rally will be happening. And you can better guarantee that you'll be seeing it live right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and of course within conservative media. And a shout out to conservative media. Man, it's so much better to be on the right side of history than the mainstream, I was going to say hacks. Well, there you go. I just said it. The mainstream hacks. We don't want to be a part of that whole thing. We are with you guys. We are with the people. And this network here specifically, not bought and paid for by some woke corporation. You go woke, you go broke. Now, I know sometimes we use woke corporations if it's, I'm not going to name any now. Maybe you go to a store that's a little bit woke or whatever. But the point is, really, guys, since day one, 2015, really the grassroots, that's what this is all about. You know, remember the Tea Party movement and the Liberty movement, Freedom movement, of course, MAGA, the America First, all the things on the right side of history. That's what we're about. And the people that want to be free across this planet, that's why they look at a place like the United States. They're like, I want to go there. I want to start a business or have the American dream and do all the things. We're still number one. We just have to keep that going. And I hope that we don't lose the Senate, the House, the presidency in the future. Because if we do, it would be really, really tough to see that happen to our country. So that's why we've harped so much on the Save America Act. You know, just having people have election integrity, election security, voting, people that have an actual voter ID or a proof of citizenship. Outside of that, let's look at Washington, D.C. right now, because we know, I believe we actually do have a live picture of Washington, D.C., Director, if we want to go to that. So we know that it's becoming much more beautiful again, and much safer with the National Guard there. Isn't it great to have the National, I think it's great. I think it's great to have the National Guard in whatever city needs it to cut down on crime, to show that, hey, this president is a law and order president. From day one of his second administration, what happened? The military gets called to the border because of a national emergency. So, of course, obviously it says we will begin shortly. Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. That's one state I've never been to. I've never been to Wisconsin. I don't think I've been to Minnesota. I may have been to Minnesota. Does it count, by the way, for those in the live chat? If you land in an airport in some other state, does that count that you've been to that state technically? You're in the airport. I think so. So I've been to Minneapolis in the airport only. I've never been to Minnesota, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, so looking at the White House live there, of course. And again, back to my point earlier, June 14th, of course, the UFC fight going to be happening on the South Lawn. That's Flag Day. That's, of course, President Trump's birthday. And then 10 days after that, that's prior to when the Great American State Fair will start. And that is June 25th to July 10th. So on June 24th, the day prior, President Trump pretty much kicking off the celebrations for our independence this time around with 250 years young. So glad you're with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. This was supposed to start at 4 o'clock Eastern. That's okay. It's 4:55 Eastern now. Happy Friday to you. It's June 5th. Glad you're with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And if you'd like to follow me on, Truth Social, it's at Matthew Alvarez. And then on X, it's at Matthew US Media. We are continuing our live coverage as we are live right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
An American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Thank you very much, everybody. So I just did an interview in the most beautiful barn I've ever seen. Ken, it was a beauty, but it was raining. And it was with NBC Fake News. And because it was raining, I got a little bit angry at them. I was not happy with them, but we had a good time. I just want to thank everybody for being here. We love the farmers. We love everything about your state. And you know, we won your state by a lot, and we've had great success here in Wisconsin, and we brought a lot of business to Wisconsin. We recommend it. I love the place. And hopefully you're going to be voting Republican because, frankly, Republican is, I call it the sane way to go. It's the sane way. Because what I'm seeing from the Democrats, they're going to have some problems. And by the way, if they don't, if they win, this country is finished. We're in trouble. So I hate to say that you have no choice, but I don't think you have much of a choice. These are some very sick puppies that I'm looking at that are running for office. And on the other side, I call them the Democrats, D-U-M. You take out the B. A lot of people don't know dumb has a B. You take out the B, and you change the E. You put the U, and you have a Democrat. But their policy is just outstandingly bad, and it's really bad for the farmer because we were having record stuff, and then we had to put out a fire. We had to extinguish a nuclear weapon, a capable nuclear. This was going to be a very capable country that was going to have a massive nuclear presence, and we weren't going to let that happen. Nobody wanted that to happen. And we've largely finished that, you'll see. And one way or the other, it's finished. One way or the other, it's finished. It's either finished with a piece of paper or finished a more difficult way, although you could say a much easier way. As you know, with Iran, they have no Navy. 159 ships in 4 days. Even Ken is impressed by that. 4 days, 159 ships at the bottom of the sea. Not that we like that, but that's the way it is. And the blockade is unbelievable. There's never been a blockade like that. The Navy is. We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. There's never been a military like it. And if you remember when all the heat I was taking from the Democrats, it would be nice. I'll use Democrats at least half the time. But if you remember the heat that I had to take to get help for the farmer and also to get help for the military, because they don't want anything to do with the military, the farmer, or for the most part, they don't want anything to do with anything good. And that's why the midterms are coming up. And I hope you people are really spiritized, because we're at a point we're going to come out of Iran very quickly, and it's going to be very strong, one way or the other, whether it's a piece of paper or the very tough way, okay? The very tough way is maybe the easier way, but we're going to come out, and your fertilizer prices are going to go way down, just like they were 4 months ago. Your fertilizer's down, your energy's down, your oil, your gas is all coming way down. And frankly, I thought it would go much higher than it did. I thought, frankly, that gasoline would be much higher than it was. I was in Iowa, another place I like a lot, and it was just before we started the excursion to Iran, and we passed gas stations. It was $1.85 a gallon, and we're going to get them down to those numbers again very quickly. But as they say in the farming business, we had to take care of business. Look at this guy over here. I don't know who the hell he is, but he is one hell of a specimen, I can tell you. This guy, this is one hell of a physical specimen. I thought I was big until I met you, Joe, you know? You're fantastic. That's what I like. Anyway, I just want to let you all know that I'm thrilled to be here at Custer Farms, and Ken and his family, they're amazing. I took pictures with them backstage and got to know them a little bit. They're really amazing people. They built this country. You all built this country. Not the complainers, not the wise guys. You all built this country. And I just want to... And I just want to let you know that Wisconsin, for me, has been just a great place. You know, it's known as difficult. It's difficult. You got to be good to win. But we won here, as you know. We won it a lot. And we're trying to figure out who the few people that voted against us are. We're looking for them right now. But today we're celebrating the historic strides for some of the most loyal, hardworking patriots anywhere in the nation, and they're really called our American farmers, and we're with you 1,000%, or I wouldn't be here. We're with you like you wouldn't believe, and you're going to see some very good things happen over the next 90-day period. I told Ken, 90 days, watch what happens. You're going to be better than you were 4 months ago. And before we begin, I'm delighted to report that for the third month in a row, the jobs numbers, I guess you saw them this morning, they just got released, and they smashed all expectations by actually 3 times with and this is during a military conflict. I call it that because it's really not that much of a war, but it's a military conflict. It's a practice. But this is 172,000 jobs were created in May. That's about 4 times higher than anticipated. And experts predicted 30,000 jobs. These are the strongest job numbers of the entire administration so far. And that's during this conflict on top of it. So it's great. And you know, we have a problem in this country because it used to be, I'm a little older than a couple of you, but I don't feel old. I feel the same as I did 50 years ago. It's crazy, Mr. Senator. We got a great senator right here, Ron. But I do feel the same. But in the old days, you know, if you had good job numbers, like great job numbers like they announced today, the stock market goes up. Today, everything is crazy. The whole world is crazy. So when you have great job numbers, the stock market goes down because they think interest rates will go up. And when interest rates go up, they stop inflation. Well, you know what else stops inflation? Growth actually stops inflation. And they ought to go back to the old system. When we have good numbers, the markets ought to go up, not go down. And that's the way you build greatness. You build greatness that way. So I think we have a great gentleman coming in, Kevin Warsh. He's going to do a fantastic job at the Fed. We're getting rid of too late. But we have, Kevin is one of the greats. So you're going to see. But you're going to see beyond anything, you're going to see numbers coming in over the next more than 2.5. We have 2.5 years plus. Can you believe how time flies, right? And can you believe the work we've done? You know, it's sad because you have speechwriters and you have advisors and you have all these people, and generally you don't like listening to any of them because if you do, you're in trouble. But I said, you know, I want to write about the border, and I want to talk about the border because when I came here, we had the most unsafe, we had the worst border maybe anywhere in the world. There was no border. 25 million people came in, drug dealers came in, people from mental institutions came in, murderers came in, 11,888 murders, most of whom, over 50% of whom, killed, can you believe this, more than one person. One killed 7 people. We allowed them into our country. We've got them largely, they're going out, and they're going out fast. We have to fight crooked judges, crooked administrations, crooked politicians, but they're going out fast. But we have the safest border in our history for the last 12 months, and this is a hard number to believe, but I don't give it. It's a number that's out there. You've heard it. 0 people have come into our country through our southern border. 0. It's a little hard to believe, but it's true. It's a little hard. If they said like 20 people, I would have been, 25 million came in through Sleepy Joe Biden. So we had 0 people. And these are done by largely sort of a radical leaning left people, the reports. But it is what it is. And the good thing is they don't try to come in. It makes it a lot easier because they know it's going to be very hard to come in. Now, we take people in, but they have to come in legally. We want people to come in, but they have to come in legally. But I say, let's talk about the border. Sir, nobody cares about the border. I said, I won the election on the border. Let's talk about the... Sir, I'm telling you, nobody cares, Ron. Nobody cares about the border. You fix the border. I want to brag about it. Sir, they want to hear about other things like fertilizer. And we'll take care of fertilizer, too. You know, when I also came in, eggs were like the highest. And remember this, I inherited all these high prices. They came in and they said, affordability. They made up the word, because that's the only thing they're good at, although I'm good at making up words, too. They go, affordability. I was there one day, and I said to our great Secretary of Agriculture, what's with the egg prices? So on my second day, I gave a news conference, which is more news conferences that Biden gave in like 6 months. But he almost did. He didn't do it. Yeah. Sleepy Joe was not heavy into news conferences, all right? He'd take one question, he'd go, oh, let's see, Jim Smith from NBC? I don't do that, they just start screaming at me. But, so I had a news conference on my second day, and they said, what about eggs? What about eggs? Tell me about eggs. I said, what's the story with eggs? Give me a little hint, what's with eggs? They said, what's happening with eggs? And I was told, you know, we have the great Easter egg hunt at the White House, and I was told to order plastic eggs. I said, I'm not ordering plastic eggs. And I called this young lady right over here, Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture, and I said, Brooke, get the egg prices down, please. And she got them down. And by the way, speaking of Tom Tiffany, is one of the best congressmen in our country. And I was there, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, right at the beginning. I endorsed this guy. I had no idea, but I liked his last name. You know why? Because I bought the air rights many years ago off Tiffany, and I made a lot of money. So I saw Tom Tiffany, and I backed him, and he went like a rocket ship, and he won, and you've kept winning. And now he's running for a thing called governor, and you have... And you have... I don't want to knock him because he's finished after this, but you have a very sleepy governor, too, and you got a very sleepy... But I can tell you, Tom Tiffany is running for governor. He's a winner, and he's going to do a great job, okay? Right? Good luck, Tom. So in a single month, we added 7,000 new manufacturing jobs and 17,000 new construction jobs, and we're building more plants than at any time in the history of our country. We have $18 trillion coming into the United States. As an example, the previous administration, in 4 years, think of this, had much less than $1 trillion come in. We have $18 trillion from countries and people all over the world in 11 months, not even in 1 year. So that's some difference. And I think that's probably why people are shocked to see the job numbers, because the construction jobs are through the roof. But when these plants, car plants and AI plants and all the different plants, when they open up, you know, we're leading China by a lot. I just got back from China. I was with President Xi, who I respect. But we're leading China by a lot in the AI race, a very important race. And we're leading everybody now when it comes to cars. They're coming in from Germany. They're coming in from Japan. They're coming in from Canada. Canada treats you guys rough, you know? Canada, they put on big tariffs. We didn't meet them with tariffs. I took care of it in my first term really strongly, and I am now. But Canada's been very rough. You find them rough to deal with? Yes, you're pretty rough to deal with. He's more of a diplomat than me. And we are doing well. The previous 2 months, we were revised upward by nearly 100,000 jobs. They put the numbers too low. So actually, we had 100,000 more jobs than they reported. They were obviously Democrats, right? Wages for workers continued to rise, and for manufacturing workers, wages are up more than 8% since I took office, which is close to a record. Think of that. A blue collar is doing better than it's ever done before. And your farmers, if you remember, we had a bad patch in my first term where China and other countries were sort of boycotting the United States. And I met with the farmers, and I said, I'm going to get you something for it because you've been treated very badly. And I got $28 billion for the farmers in the first term, remember? I just asked Ken whether or not he got it. He said, I did. And we're looking at something also. Right now, we're looking at something to take the place of what's happened, because it's artificial. What happened to you is artificial with the energy and with the fertilizer. So we're looking at something. But in the first term, I got the farmers $28 billion, and I'll never forget, I was in the White House. I had about 35 farmers along this big, beautiful table. Not as beautiful as this table, okay? But this gorgeous, beautiful White House table, all the best. And I said, I'm going to get you a subsidy. And they looked at me, and he just said the same thing. One of them looked at me, stood up, said, sir, we don't want subsidy. We just want an even playing field. I said, nobody ever said that to me. All they want is money. You understand that? First time. Nobody ever said that. I've had so many meetings with different groups, different industries. If I said, I'm going to get you $28 billion, they say, oh, get it as fast. They actually said, we don't want it. Now, I got it for you anyway. I didn't notice anybody turning it down, but I got it. But they said something that no other group said, Ron. They said, we don't want a subsidy. We just want just an even playing field, fair trade. They just wanted to be treated fairly. And nobody else has said that but the farmers. So we love you. We love you guys. So we're building more factories now than at any time. And we've also had huge drops. And I'll tell you, this is something that's amazing. African American unemployment is now doing better than it's ever done. And I don't know where that stat came from, but I'll take it. I don't know where the hell that stat came, but we'll take it. And a short time ago, we were a dead country. We were dead as a doornail. If you look, go back 2 years, we were a laughing stock all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs. He couldn't walk down a flight of stairs either, you know. And we had everybody, we were a laughing stock all over the world. And I was with the King of Saudi Arabia because I wanted him to invest trillions of dollars into our country. Look at that whole situation now, too. It's very interesting. But he was good, and he said to me, you know, President, it's amazing. A year and a half ago, we thought you were a dead country, and now you're the hottest country anywhere in the world that we are. We're the strongest, we're the hottest, and we're the most respected country anywhere in the world. So, as I said, the stock market just hit 73 all-time records in a short period of time. We've had 73 all-time record highs. And your 401ks, who has a 401k here? Let me just say, a lot. Your 401ks, as you know, just hit a record high. So that's everybody. And we're just off a very big success in Washington, D.C. We had, it doesn't sound like much, but Washington, D.C. was not properly managed or kept. We had 22 fountains. None of them worked for the last 50 years. None of them. They were graffiti strewn. I did it the inexpensive way. Why should we have a screen? Everybody here has good vision. I want to show you something. Look at this. I'm going to show you the cheap way, okay? We don't want to bring screens. It costs too much money. Look at that. That's before and after. Look at that. Look at it. Can everybody see that? That's before. That's our nation's capital. That's what look at this graffiti all over it, filthy, disgusting stone. The stone was all horrible. And look over there, that's before and after. Then we had the reflecting pond, 2,500 feet, massive, longer than a building. We have a stat here that's sort of great. Can you guys see this okay? Because I'm too cheap to put up like a projector. Look, so that's the pond, if we're standing up. Here's your Sears Tower, Empire State Building, World Trade Center. Look, it's double and triple the size in terms of area. So it would have cost $400 million, Ron, to fix. It would have taken 4 years. And they were getting ready. Doug Burgum's done an amazing job. And I said, you know, rather than doing that, they were going to put stone down, big stone, granite, wonderful, but it all leaks because you have joints. So being a very good builder, I said, you know what? I built a lot of swimming pools, many, many swimming pools. Every time I do a development, I do swimming pools. I know more about swimming pools. I said, why can't we put the wonderful material, which is thick, pasty, beautiful, like rubber, but industrial strength? Why can't we use it? And let's pick the color blue from the American flag, which is what we did. And that is the most beautiful thing that you've ever seen. And look at that. I mean, look at that. It just opened yesterday. We just opened it. So there was going to take 4 years, 400 million. It took really about a month. Okay, it was going to. Can you imagine Washington between Lincoln Think of Washington, D.C., between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington. Just think about this. You know that beautiful spire in honor of the great George Washington and the beautiful Lincoln Memorial. So between there, thousands of feet long. It was built in 1922, and to be honest, it never really worked. It leaked like a sieve because it was stone and concrete. So I took over the project. Now, Barack Hussein Obama, have you heard of him? Barack Hussein Obama spent, and Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, they spent a total of about $150 million trying to fix it. They never got it opened. It never worked. It was terrible, disgusting. It was garbage-ridden. And I said to my pool guy, I said, take a look at it. And he said, well, sir, we can do it. We'll get industrial strength. And I used some guys, not him, I used some guys, but he gave me some good ideas because he's a pro. You know, they got very upset when I sent my pool person. I said, who else am I going to send? So I sent him over, and we sprayed it and put down beautiful, like a pool coating. It'll last maybe 50 to 100 years. So here's the thing, 400 million versus like 10 million. 4 years versus a month. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And the difference is, look, here's your Lincoln Memorial. You have the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. Look at that. Beautiful. Look at how that reflects. It's like a mirror. Off beautiful, clean water. They had like garbage. Barack Obama wanted to save money, so he took the water out of the Potomac. That didn't work out too well. A lot of things were coming out of that river into this spot. It wasn't good. So we just think of it. So like a month of this work, we actually added to it. We did the sidewalks, because once we did this, we had to do the rest because it looked so good. But think of it, 400 million versus like 10 million bucks for a better job. 4 years versus a month for a better job. We have many things like that. I talk about that all the time. We do a lot of things like that. So we're very proud of Washington. We had 22 fountains that didn't work. All of the fountains, not one fountain in Washington worked. Out of the 22 fountains, they're all looking beautiful, just like the one I showed you. And now they're clean, they're beautiful, there's no graffiti. Washington, D.C. is a safe city. It was a very unsafe city a year and a half ago. And a very unsafe city. Your child would go to see the Jefferson Memorial or the Washington or the Lincoln or any of them and would oftentimes not come back. It was a horrible place. It was horrible what was happening. And we put our great military in there. We did a job. We removed 5,000 people that were career criminals. 2% of the people, think of this, 2% of the people, did you know this, Ron, create 91% of the crime. And I love that statistic because you can get rid of 2%. And we took them out. We brought them back to where they came from. They came in, many of them came in through Sleepy Joe's open border policy, one of the craziest policies I've ever heard. So we saved a lot of money. And you go to Washington, D.C., new grass. People say they don't even recognize it. We did that all in a little bit more than a year. And even I said, I mean, it's amazing. But maybe the biggest thing is we don't have, it's considered now a very, very safe city. And you can go there and you're going to be 100% perfect. We had the restaurants were all closing and now they're opening up. They don't have enough restaurants anymore. It's like, it's a beautiful thing to see. Every day my administration's fighting to protect and defend the jobs and livelihood of our great farmers. I love our farmers, our growers, agricultural producers, ranchers from coast to coast. Under the last administration, Biden and the radical left Democrats in Congress crushed farmers with brutal restrictions, crippled you with the worst inflation. So the Biden administration had the worst inflation in the history of our country. They say 49 years, 48 years, but whether you say 48 or forever, I think it was forever. We had the worst inflation we've ever had. And think of that, and failed to negotiate even a single new trade deal for our farmers. They didn't negotiate one new trade deal for our farmers. I just made a great deal. I came back from President Xi, and he's buying billions and billions of dollars worth of soybeans and other things, and you're seeing that starting to kick in. Thank you. So by contrast, in my first year back in the Oval Office, average farm incomes for agricultural producers in our country have skyrocketed by more than 20%. Now, it's been over the last couple of months since we went in for the military operation. You've seen fertilizer go up and you've seen energy go up. It's going to come down to where it was or lower. You'll be very happy. Otherwise, Ken is going to call me. He's going to bawl me out, and I'll say, oh, sorry, Ken, I was only kidding, right? All right. He knows I'm going to do it. With Republicans in Congress like Tom Tiffany, like Derek Van Orden. Where's Derek? Derek. This guy he fights like hell. He's in a little bit of a community that tends to be on slightly a little bit more than we want in left, but he loves them all, and he's very popular, and he's going to win by a lot. You're doing well. I understand you're really doing well, so thank you, Derek. And he's a real fighter, and he's a great guy. We've been friends right from all of us. We've been friends right from the beginning. So we passed the largest tax cuts in American history with a great, big, beautiful bill. We made the small business tax deduction permanent, benefiting 98% of the farmers and ranchers. We gave you 100% expensing and bonus depreciation. So when you buy a new tractor or anything else you buy, you're allowed to deduct it. You buy any new tractors? Got a lot of nice tractors back there. Got a lot of tractors back there, by the way. But so you can deduct it, the full cost of the tractors, 1 year, any equipment, 1 year, all. You can deduct it all in the first year instead of over a period of many, many years. And we also saved the $2 million. Thank you very much. That's a big deal, actually. We also saved the $2 million American farms from, think of that, from extinction by ending. What we did is we got rid of the estate tax or the death tax. So if you love your child, if you love your child, if you don't love your child, then don't worry about it. It doesn't make any difference. Does anybody not love your child in the audience? No, but if you have a farm like this, someday it's going to come the time, right? And I met your boys, and he loves his boys. I know that because he started clapping for that last statement about no death tax. And he was clapping. He didn't clap for anything else. That means you love your boys. So, boys, I just found out your father loves you. But think of it. And I was seeing this in my first term. We did it my first term. We did it now. We extended it out. So you have no estate tax, or we call it the death tax on a farm or a small business. Now, I saw it myself. You have a way of life that sometimes you're land rich and cash poor, sometimes you're lots of different conditions, but people that are on farms love being on farms. You wouldn't trade my life. You wouldn't want my life. Believe me, you don't want it. Your life is much better than my life. I will tell you, your ear wasn't a little pierced over here. You didn't get pierced. You have a nice, safe, beautiful life. But I've seen it with farmers maybe more than any industry. People want to have their farm. It's a way of life, and they love the life on the farm. And the family would leave, the father would die, the mother would die, leave it to the kids. The kids would have a big estate tax problem or a death tax problem. They'd go to the bank, they'd borrow a lot of money, more money than they should have borrowed. Farm, in many cases, I have to say, they do terrible things. They commit suicide. All right, so obviously it says resuming shortly, and there it is. Let's go back to it right now. job you've done with me and helping to get it passed. And let me tell you, that man is a senator. He loves the farmers and he loves your state. And he doesn't care about anything else. He wants to make sure you get treated fairly. And there's no better advocate. You have no better advocate than Ron Johnson. So thank you, Mr. Senator. Thank you. And he'll be a hell of a governor. I know the guy, he'll drive you crazy. He'll be calling me, President, you got to send more money to Wisconsin. Leave me alone, all right? He'll do well, too. Thank you. As president, I fought for the American farmer like no one has ever fought before. Nobody's, like I'm up here today, I don't need this. I got elected, I don't have. What the hell do I have to be here for? I got elected. I'm here because I like the farmer. I mean, when you think about it, I guess there's a lot of truth to that, right? I could be home right now in the beautiful White House watching somebody else on television talking. On day one, I terminated the insane electric vehicle mandate. They wanted your tractors to be all electric. They wanted your cars to be all electric. And, you know, look, Elon, he had a bad moment, but now he's a friend of mine again. He had a very bad moment. He's 80% brilliant and 20% he's got little bad moments. But I love electric cars, but you know what? Not everybody wants them, and not everybody, in terms of distance and lots of other things. And I think they're great, but I also want to see all gasoline. I want to see the hybrids, which are great. I want you to have anything. And they wanted your tractors, you know, they wanted the tractors to be turned into all electric. And that didn't even sound good to me, right? That didn't even sound good to me. And it wouldn't have worked very long. You would have had to stop every 15 minutes to get a new charge. How would it be if you're driving your tractor along, everything's wonderful, and then Ken, he wants to work. He goes, oh man, I got to go get a new charge every 10 minutes. That's not too good, right? You'd rather be able to operate it for about 4 days before you fill it up, right? So anyway, so we solved that problem. We ended the electric mandate, okay? And on day one, and one of the other reasons this would have gutted the ethanol industry. Do we have fans here of the ethanol industry? Okay. Because if they got in, they will end the ethanol industry in one swoop, so you better remember that. And we eliminated all unnecessary restrictions on sales of E15, and I've made it clear that we're going to go E15 all year round, and I think it's something that you want, right? What, you like that? Are you happy with that? Are you happy? So they put a lot of these guys, that's all they talked about, E15. They were driving me crazy. They called me, can we talk about E15? How about something else, right? Tom Tiffany would call, can we talk about E15? But anyway, but you got your wish, fellas, okay? And we massively expanded crop insurance and issued a historic $12 billion in farm relief. So it's $12 billion, but it was $28 billion in my first, and we're looking at that right now about increasing it. And to stop major equipment manufacturers from restricting you from fixing your own farm equipment, we gave you the right to repair. Do you like it? The right to repair. It was a little strange. I mean, some of you are better mechanics than the people at John Deere. And I will love John Deere, Mr. May of John Deere. But they wanted to, you know, your tractor is broken down. I'll bet you can fix a tractor as well as about anybody else, right? I can look at this guy. I guarantee if you were mandated, let's say you have a tractor that's broken and you know exactly how to fix it, you wouldn't be too happy about being mandated to bring the tractor back to John Deere or wherever you got it, right? You'd like to fix it.
Not so much.
I mean, they actually have, the Democrats, a restriction that if you get caught fixing your tractor, they bring you to jail. You know that? Do you know that I pardoned a man last week who was sentenced to 7 years in jail because he got caught fixing his car or his truck? I said, I like to always say, what did he do? Sir, he was fixing his truck. I said, how long is he getting? 7 years. I said, say it again. It's the first time I've ever heard it. Like 2 weeks ago, I gave him a pardon because he had to go to jail because he was fixing his tractor or his truck. So I promise, Ken, if you ever get caught fixing your tractor or truck, I will give you a pardon, okay? No, but these are the crazy Democrats. That's what they want. I terminated the ridiculous so-called diesel exhaust fluid requirement. Does that mean anything to you? Big, right? Joe is happy, so I want to keep him happy just in case he gets violent. He's happy. And I repealed the Biden-era EPA, just the crazy waters of the United States. It sounds so nice. It's the worst rule that you've ever had. Waters of the, how could it be nicer? What a beautiful title. It was like taking your land away from you. It was horrible. And I totally repealed it. And there are some people, you know, when I did that repeal, I had a lot of farmers and contractors, builders, house builders, in my office. And I announced the repeal in front of them. I signed it. And these are tough guys. In fact, they look like him, just smaller. And who isn't smaller? I think everybody's smaller. But no, they look like Joe. And they were crying. Half of them were crying. You remember that? Half of them were crying. I said, why are you crying? What's the big deal? He said, you gave us back our life. They actually had their life taken away. They couldn't touch their land. If they even touched it, they were in violation. They also would go to jail. That was the crazy environmental nonsense that we're all putting up with, which has largely ended. Perhaps most importantly, with our historic trade deals, I've dramatically expanded exports of American meat, poultry, soybeans, biofuels, and of course, Wisconsin dairy, the best, right? That's right. And I just see that dairy exports have surged nearly $1.2 billion under our leadership, and this is with a conflict going on. Remember what I said, Ken, when this conflict ends, you're going to see things that you've never seen before, because we are ready to rock. We've never had this kind of investment coming into our country. Nobody else has either. Nobody has ever had anywhere near, not even near, including China, nobody's had this kind of investment coming in to a country. So increasing 41% to Japan, you've increased your sales. 41% to Japan, 48% to the Middle East, 61% to European Union, 63% to South Asia, and 85% to Australia. So you're doing pretty well. You're going to see it, and you're going to see it a lot better in about 3 months from now. I also signed something that you may or may not like. I don't know. It sounded good to me. It didn't sound very bad to me, but people love it. I also signed the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act. You know what that means? That was another one. I had a big signing at the White House. We had some people that have been fighting for that for years. I called Ron. I said, Ron, what's to fight for? I mean, it just sounds good. And it's just better. It's healthy. I like it. I drank it. I don't know. It gets harder to get it. Now we have it. So that, you know, it's totally opened up now for the kids, and it's great for anybody. And now we're working with Congress to quickly pass the new Farm Bill. We're very well into it. We got some great approvals, the hardest approvals, and I think we're very well on our way to getting the Farm Bill finished and approved. And just to finish up, with the help of the farmers like those here, today we're also helping bring down grocery prices for hardworking Americans, and they're coming down very rapidly. Remember, I inherited these prices. I didn't start. My prices were great. They rigged the election. When I turned, the election was totally rigged. It was a rigged election, just like they're rigging the election right now, it looks like in California. Can you imagine? It's 4 days, and they still aren't even close to telling you who won. You know why? Because they're rigging the election, that's why. 4 days. You know, in Spain, they had it like, I'm not a big fan of Spain, to be honest with you. It's gone very far left. But they had an election. All the votes were in, similar size to the state of California, a little larger, actually. And every vote was in by 10 o'clock in the evening and counted. You're going to be waiting weeks to get these votes. It's corrupt. Somebody said it's incompetent. I said, no, just the opposite. It's unbelievably competent if you happen to be a Democrat politician. Because with their policies, the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And when you look at an election, not even relatively a big election, for one state, for one city, for Los Angeles, they're nowhere close to counting the votes. But you look at what's happening. it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And the people that were supposed to win, bad things are happening. It's a crooked state. We have crooked third world elections in a lot of our states, and we should pass our Save America Act. Amazing. And that'll really stop it too. That'll stop it. You know, that's where you have voter ID. It's where you have birth of, you know, your citizenship. You have to prove your citizenship. I think that sounds good. And also, you know, I added a couple in there. Also, the ballots, the voting, the mail-in ballots, so crooked. They send millions of ballots out all over the place. If you're a Democrat, sometimes you get 6 or 7. If you're a Republican, you have to call up, where are my ballots? It's such a crooked deal. We're third world country. But I added 2 things. No men playing in women's sports. And this is like best of. No transgender mutilization surgery on your child, on your children. None. So we added them in. So we inherited very high costs, and we're getting them down. They're coming down very rapidly, and when fuel comes down, they're really going to come down. And I just want to say it's an honor to be here. We have Senator Ron Johnson, we have Congressman Tom Tiffany, we have Congressman Derek Van Orden, we have Hall of Fame offensive lineman Joe Thomas. Oh, that's look at the size of this guy. Good. Boy, oh boy. So you're a Hall of Fame. Did anybody get by you?
Never. Never.
He's a good-looking man. That's great, Joe. It's great to know you. Really good. Great career, too. I know who you are. Former president of Leinenkugel Brewing Company, Jake Leinenkugel. Thank you, Jake. The owner here of Custer Farms, and he's a great guy. I think I can almost call him a friend. We had a great time back there. And a wonderful family. Ken, thank you very much. And a fantastic dairy farmer, Jamie Witzpalek. Where is Jamie? Jamie? Hi, Jamie. Thank you. And finally, 2-time gold medal winner in speed skating in this year's Winter Olympics, Jordan Stolz. Where the hell is he? Whoa. Oh, that's pretty good. Whoa. Stand up. Stand up. Yeah. USA, 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 USA. I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it, Jordan. I'm not giving it back. I'm a very good guy for keeping gold. I like gold. I'm never giving this back. Congratulations. I forgot to touch his leg. I didn't want to do that. But I can tell you one thing. His leg is like a rock. That's fantastic. 2 gold medals. Wow, that's big stuff. Thank you. It's an honor. And speaking for my other athlete up here, that's pretty good, right? 2. And you go through big competition with a lot of great athletes, right? Are you going to be doing it again? Another Olympics?
I plan to be doing it until 2030, as long as I can. Until Salt Lake City in 2034.
Well,
so that'll be on home soil.
We're going to be watching, okay? You could do it again. Right. So, if we'll go in order if I can, and we'll start with Brooke Rollins and go to Ron Johnson and Tom Tiffany and Derek. And Joe Thomas, would love to have you say a few words, because you can tell us about real tough life, and it's tough in those pits, right? Pretty nasty people in there. Oh, yeah. You meet some large, nasty people, but you can handle it. And Jake, we're going to ask you to say a few words, if you would. And Ken, and we'll go pretty quickly, because I have to get back to fighting a war in Iran. There's a hell of a speakers list. We might be here all night. You know, if we can, fellas, I got to get back to a place called Washington and protect you, okay? So if you go very quickly, we don't need your life story other than I like the Olympic guy and I like this guy right over here. And Jordan Stalls would like to have you say a couple of words too, okay? Hey, Jordan, why don't you start? Go ahead.
Well, first I want to thank you to all the farmers who are here, and I don't think people really understand how much you guys make a difference in the country. I mean, you guys are the backbone of the nation, and for me, myself, personally, I try and eat as clean as possible, and you know, a lot of steak, a lot of dairy, and you know, you guys are the backbone of Wisconsin, so I just want to say thank you to all the farmers and everybody who could make it here today, and of course, to the president.
That's good. Thank you, Jordan. That's a winner. Tough to win like that. Yeah, it's a very tough when you're dealing with fractions of a second. That's a tough thing to do. Congratulations. Secretary, if you would, go quickly. Thank you.
Very quickly, how about a big thank you to God for the rain and the farmers and for President Donald J. Trump. President Trump mentioned that when he came back into office, we inherited an almost $50 billion agricultural trade deficit, meaning under Sleepy Joe Biden, not one new trade deal was struck, and we lost $50 billion of market access around the world for you, our great farmers. But in just a little over 1 year, 19 new trade deals have been struck. The markets have opened around the world. We are going to break every record for dairy, for tree nuts, for corn, for ethanol, as we move the American farmer's product, the best in the world, back out to the rest of the world, while at the same time inheriting inputs that had never been so high in the history of our country, whether that was fuel, fertilizer, labor, interest rates, seed, one after the other, and those numbers all were coming down significantly, and as the president promised, will soon come down very soon again. Sir, there is no better American than the most American of all Americans, and that is our great American farmer. God bless you. Thank you so much, sir.
Ron Johnson, please.
Mr. President, welcome to Wisconsin again. You certainly have paid a lot of attention to our state, and we truly appreciate it. Like you, I met with these great farmers backstage, and you nailed it. They love farming. This right now is a third-generation farm, hopefully pass on to fourth. But they face numerous challenges. But what I thought was very common in all the comments speaking to me is they realized that you are going to fight for them. You have turned the Republican Party into the party of the working men and women of this country who have made this country great and who will continue to make it great, and they recognize that. So they know the big messes the Democrats left for you. They realize you don't turn those messes around and fix them right away, but they know you are absolutely dedicated to do it, and they love you for it. So God bless you.
Thank you. So your next governor, hopefully your next governor, Tom Tiffany, please, Tom.
Mr. President, where we sit here today, I grew up about 30 miles from here on a dairy farm, milking cows with my brothers and sisters. I want to thank you for signing that bill, whole milk for healthy kids. There's no reason kids can't have whole milk in our schools. Thank you very much for that. And I also want to thank you, and I want to thank the Secretary of Agriculture, because you've stood up for forestry. We are now once again managing our forests here in America that have been left in decline for 3 decades. You are doing good things on that front. And the final thing that I want to say to you, that gentleman to your right was the impetus 6 years ago when I came into the Congress of the United States, showing what a disaster it was to convert our beautiful, productive farmland in Wisconsin and across America into intermittent sources of power like wind and solar. He was the impetus behind me talking to you about that. Remember July 2nd last year when we had that meeting in the White House? This is what we talked about, and it has led to higher utility rates, and it has led to the destruction of our farmland. We're not going to allow that to happen here in the state of Wisconsin.
He's right about that. He's right about that. Derek, please.
Mr. President, yesterday we got to spend about an hour and a half in the Oval Office, and you announced the $50 million that you are sending to the state of Wisconsin for clean, beautiful coal. Thank you for that. Mr. President, you signed a $50 billion rural healthcare infrastructure bill. Of that, over $200 million is coming to the state of Wisconsin to make sure that we have healthcare in our rural areas. Thank you for that, sir. You signed whole milk for healthy kids into law, sir. You just reopened every single domestic market in our schools, and that is amazing for the MAHA movement for our kids and for our dairy farmers. Thank you for that, sir.
Thank you,
Last thing, E15. We are bugging you, and this is the thing about the president you don't know. You call him, he answers the phone. And he understands these issues inside and out. So when he was sort of joking about us talking about E15, sir, you took that on board hard. The only reason that E15 year-round got through the Congress is because of Donald J. Trump, and that did so much for our row croppers, sir. Thank you very much, and welcome back to your second home.
So, Joe, great football player. I would tell you one of the truly greats, Hall of Famer. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. President. Joe Thomas, Hall of Fame Farms, Muscadet, Wisconsin. You should come visit. It's beautiful. I got to pump Secretary Rollins' tires a little bit for the Small Processors Action Plan, because as a farm-to-table beef producer like myself, we see one of the biggest bottlenecks in our country is the lack of small packing and processing plants. For people like me that are trying to raise farm-to-table beef, Wagyu and Angus, and be able to feed our community, and she's doing great work with that new mission to be able to help us be able to feed our communities and not have to rely on trying to get into the big four packers, which is often impossible and leads to higher costs for the customer and less money and revenue for the farmer and the producer. So thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you, Secretary Rollins, for all the work you're doing for us small beef producers. On Wisconsin.
So Joe, he played a long time in the NFL. He's a Hall of Famer. Who is the greatest quarterback you've ever seen?
Oh, that's a tough one. Is anybody listening here? Because Brady and Manning were pretty good, and I'd have a hard time picking between either one of those guys.
And who is the greatest running back you've ever seen?
I never got to see him in person, but Jim Brown or Barry Sanders are my two.
Okay, good. For football fans, got to keep it. That's good. Thank you very much. Please, Jake, thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you very much for coming to Wisconsin. As we all said, I want to just say, without the American farmers, we as a company would not be able to brew beer. In fact, out of all the thousands of breweries across America, you supply the most important ingredients here in the USA: barley, malt, wheat, and we use some corn. But thank you all, and really appreciate the time, Mr. President. Thank you much.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Ken, please.
First off, Mr. President, it's an honor and a blessing to have you here. We are, there isn't in the sound on the roof is a blessing. We American farmers risk a lot and count on God's blessing. And our forefathers in this country understood that. That's what makes us great, is God's blessing. And I thank you for being who you are, the integrity that you hold, doing what you say you're going to do. You make the right decisions for America. They aren't popular. Thank you. And we as farmers have lost, as Secretary Rollins talked, a tremendous amount of our trade. And that's all we need is we can compete with anybody in the world. We need fair trade.
Yep, we lost a lot during that last administration. We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back. Jamie, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I want to say, as a dairy farmer and a mom, I don't know why he's doing that. Let's go a little bit further back.
Yep.
As a dairy farmer and a mom, I see how important it is for these policies to be put in place, not only for the families that are growing the food, but for the people who are consuming it every day. I was so excited to witness the signing of the Whole Milk Healthy Kids Act. I didn't even know what to think because in reality, it was common sense to me why we don't have those options for our children in the schools. Whole milk provides essential nutrients that our kids need for bone growth, muscle growth, and brain development. So I was really excited to be part of that. And as our dad always said, drink milk, it does a body good. That still stands true to this day. So thank you, President Trump and Senator Rollins.
Thank you. And Steve?
First of all, thank you for coming to Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, and hearing us out here. Really appreciate that. And as I sit here and represent the farmers of this state and the farmers of America, I think we've all experienced some tough times here in the last 4 or 5 years. And listening to what you guys are saying, I'm very hopeful for some better times coming. And you know, some of the stuff that we see and talk about that really affects us is the monopolization of the inputs. You know, at this point, there's 4 seed and chemical companies in the country that control 78% of that. 3 fertilizers control 90% of the market, and 4 beef companies control 85% of the beef market. That makes it really tough for us when things are good. You know, our inputs just rise with the commodity prices. So we'd like some help on that. On another note, the big beautiful bill is a real win for us, and we really appreciate what you've done with that. It's lowered our tax rates. It's given us the ability to pass these farms on to the next generation. You strengthen the crop insurance. You know, I think that all that stuff, and another thing that I want to mention is the border deal. We feel really blessed to have the control you put in place on the border. And other than that, I think you've done a great job. I'd like to add one more thing. We're in the pipeline construction business, and I was sharing with Secretary Rollins there that, you know, we were a 8,000 person company under your first administration, and we went down to 12 to 1,500 people now. And it's just starting its way back up, and we're in the middle of negotiations on a big project in Alaska called Glen Farm that I think you're very aware of. And we're in the final stretches of that, so I know that's not farm related, but if there's any help we could get out of you guys for that, I think that's a real big piece for our energy security of this country. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Which we'll take care of it. You all right? Anybody else? Would you like to say something, folks?
Thank you very much for, like he said, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. That was those tax credits, a lot of the stuff that supports the American agriculture through the trade side as well. We've got fair trade has been a challenge in America lately, and we need to get what we deserve for our products. And I thank you for putting in the effort and doing the work and getting, you know, we'd rather have fair trade than the subsidies like previously mentioned. E15, some of that stuff's great, energy independence. On our farm, we actually have a co-digester where we take food waste and the cow manure and make methane. And I think some of that can also help increase local energy independence and keep some of our food that we all work so hard to produce from going in the landfills. So thank you very much, and thank you for being frugal with our tax dollars on repairing Washington.
Good. That's right. Thank you. So I just want to thank everybody. This is great. You're amazing people. You built this country. You built the country. We have all the complainers, all the people, they talk. They don't do anything. You're the ones that made America great, and we're making it greater than ever before. We have Make America Great Again, but we're now making it greater than ever before. So I just want to thank you all. It's an honor to be with you. We're straightening out a little unfinished business in Iran and a couple of other places. Tremendous success that we had in Venezuela, as you know. We're doing amazing oil business there right now, and it's been incredible. But I just want to thank everybody for being here special. And I want to thank you really for your support. We won in a landslide, and I just want to thank you for your support. Thank you all, and Ken, thank you very much.
President Trump holding a roundtable turned mini rally in Wisconsin, speaking about American agriculture. And of course, a quick shout out to all of our great farmers out there. This live stream brought to you by some great sponsors, including mypillow.com/RSBN. Of course, June 21st is Father's Day. So there's a huge Father's Day sale going on there. mypillow.com/RSBN, a great spot to get some great products by the great Mike Lindell. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate, rsbnetwork.com/donate. And of course, before we close our broadcast today, since today's event was about agriculture, President George Washington said, quote, "Liberty, when it begins to take root, is a plant of rapid growth. May we keep cultivating and planting liberty throughout our land." For all of us here at Right Side, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you again soon.